Phoenix Nights. Chapter 39:15. Hearing the conversation between the two old men, Ling Xiao was startled for a moment. Damn, these two old men were hilarious. One called him an animal, and the other called him a bitch. If they weren't good friends, perhaps they would have already started fighting. Cut the crap. Today, I saw a sword beam shoot up into the sky from the demon beast forest you were in. That terrifying sword intent is actually about to reach my level. You're here because of that, right? The sword master sneered. Hee hee, so you found it. Look at this kid, he's the one who unleashed that sword energy. The beast master laughed. Him? He looks less than 20 years old, and his cultivation is only at the peak first heavenly core realm. Impossible! The sword master shook his head. If you don't believe me, then forget it. I was going to bring him to meet the other old men. Since you don't believe me, then forget it. The beast master laughed and said, I found a treasure and wanted to share it with everyone. Since you don't appreciate it, as an old friend, I won't force you. Bye-bye. After saying that, the beast master was about to bring Ling Xiao away. What a joke! You came to Daddy's Valley of Swords, and you want to leave so easily? No way! The sword master stopped in front of them. He looked at Ling Xiao and said, Kid, release your sword soul and sword intent for me to see. Let him have a look, I don't want this old bitch to keep pestering me. The beast master laughed. Ling Xiao was speechless. In front of others, these high and mighty kings were all dignified. But in private, they were no different from ordinary kids. How could they be so naughty? No one could be like them. However, he could still sense how powerful this sword master was. Therefore, he had to show him his sword intent and sword soul. After saying that, he unleashed his 40% Xiantian Fiend God sword soul. The strange scene of a fiend god and a fiend god harmonizing into one body made the sword master's eyes light up. After that, he unleashed his sword intent. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded out. An explosive aura shot straight towards the sword master. At this moment, it was as if all the swords in the entire Valley of Swords were resonating with each other, producing a strange sound. The entire sky was filled with sword energy. The mountains in all directions were shattered by the sword energy. The scene was extremely shocking. Such a terrifying sword intent turned into an illusory sword and pierced the sword master's body. However, the sword master himself stood there very calmly. It was as if nothing had happened. The difference in strength between the two of them was too great. No matter how strong Ling Xiao's sword intent was, the power of his sword she would not be able to reach that level. There wasn't much meaning to it. It's not a big deal. He's only a peak first divine core warrior at his age. A 40% Xiantian God Fiend sword soul isn't bad, but it's not worth the guidance of us old fellows. Compared to the geniuses of Shuiyu, there was a huge difference. I don't see you being tempted by those geniuses. The sword master frowned. He felt that the beast master was toying with him. What kind of bullshit genius was this? It wouldn't be a problem for any ordinary 6 divine core warriors to train him. He actually said that it was a treasure? Hee hee, you're saying that he's not as good as those people? You'd better think it over. If you don't want it, then I'll introduce you to the others. I believe that there will be people who have a discerning eye for talent. The beast master looked at the sword master with a faint smile. The sword master furrowed his brows. He felt that something wasn't right. Just what was the beast lord planning? Old animal, don't keep me in suspense. We're good friends, and the others don't have a good relationship with us. I don't think they'll accept this disciple. The sword master felt that the beast master wouldn't accept a disciple for no reason. Since the beast master had accepted this disciple, it meant that this disciple must have something extraordinary about him. Now you think I'm your friend? Who said that I don't have a good relationship with the other old fellows? I think Old Hua is a good friend. Last time when he went on a journey, he even brought me a bottle of good wine. The beast master laughed and said, Ling Xiao, don't tease him anymore. Show him your true strength. True strength? The sword master was startled. This guy is hiding his true strength. Why can't I see it? He didn't hide his true cultivation, but there are some things that you can't see on the surface. The Beast Master suddenly became serious. Just as he was speaking, Ling Xiao instantly entered the unbounded heavenly rat beast soul transformation state. Not only did his aura increase further, even his sword intent skyrocketed at that moment. The Sword Master could clearly feel that the sword intent could pose a threat to him. He was extremely excited. It was as if he had seen a piece of treasure. Treasure, it's really a treasure. Apart from having the connate god fiend sword soul, he's also a beast god. And this beast god's level isn't low. At the very least, he should be at the same level as this old animal. High-level deity position? The Sword Master was extremely excited, and there was a look of excitement in his eyes. Hey, didn't you say that he's not good? Why did you change your mind all of a sudden? The Beast Master laughed. It's just a joke. Did you really take it seriously? He has such good attainments in Sword Dao. Wouldn't it be a waste to send him to Old Hua? The Sword Master hurriedly said. Waste? Ling Xiao, open this B*****'''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''''*************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** nodded. He naturally knew what the Beast Master wanted him to do. Hence, he raised his hand. All of a sudden, a terrifying flame ignited on his hands. Even his sword intent became extremely hot. Immortal fire! It's actually an immortal fire! Oh my God! Oldhua cultivated with all his might, and only got a slightly more powerful exceptional fire. It's impossible to subdue an immortal fire. This kid actually has an exceptional fire. No wonder you asked him to go to Oldhua. However, it's better for him to stay with me. It's obvious that this kid likes Sword Dao more. The Sword Master's eyes almost popped out. Hee, you like it now? The Beast Master laughed. But I suddenly can't bear to part with it. Don't. I know you like to drink. I don't have a jar of good wine. I'll give it to you, the Sword Master hurriedly said. Hey, why are you suddenly so generous today? I think someone once said that you can break your head and bleed, but you can't give away your exceptional fire? The Beast Master teased. It's different. Compared to the wine, the person who can inherit our legacy is the most important. Otherwise, won't no one be able to carry forward what we've learned? The Sword Master laughed. Don't worry about leaving this kid with me. You know what kind of person I am. I'll definitely use the best resources to nurture him. He's going to the mystic realm, so he can't stay here for a long time. The higher-ups only gave him a month to cultivate. He can only stay with you for 10 days at most. If he can't make a breakthrough in his cultivation and his Sword Dao can't improve, then, regardless of whether we're good friends or not, I'll have to take him away. I can't let you hold this kid back, the Beast Master reminded him. Don't worry, 10 days it is. As long as he can swallow it, I'll give him a lot of good stuff. Chapter 39:16. Ling Xiao, you stay here and cultivate, I'm going back now. Actually, the Beast Lord still had a lot of things he wanted to teach Ling Xiao. But time was of the essence, and letting Ling Xiao learn more was the best way to increase his overall strength in a short period of time. Therefore, he had no choice but to leave Ling Xiao to the Sword Lord for now. Boom! 10 days later, a frightening sword intent exploded out from the Valley of Swords. It was 10 times stronger than the one unleashed in the Demon Beast Forest. My cultivation has broken through again. Early Second Divine Core Realm! Not only that, under the guidance of the Sword Lord, my control of sword intent has become more flexible. The essence of sword intent is its sharpness. This sharpness can be used to kill, destroy, and save. How to use it depends on the warrior's comprehension. I didn't know this before, but now, I finally understand. Even if it's the same skill, when unleashed with a different intent, it will produce a completely different effect. As for intent, it doesn't just consist of sword intent. In this world, everything contains intent, and it all depends on whether the warrior is able to master it or not. poison intent, fire intent, ice intent, lightning intent, water intent, darkness intent, all of these are examples. Because I have the divine position of one of the 12 divine beasts, I've mastered many different types of intent. But I have no idea what these intents are used for. I've just casually used them. But now, I finally understand. Every type of intent can be merged with a martial skill, and it can increase the strength of the skill, as well as provide special effects. It can also frighten the enemy. Ling Xiao sat down with his legs crossed. Excitement and hope could be seen in his eyes. Indeed, with the guidance of a professional mentor, the effect was different. Kid, you're a precious treasure that I can't bear to part with. If others can master even one type of intent, they'll be thankful. But you've mastered so many types of intent, and you've cultivated all of them well. This way, when you're facing an enemy, you'll be able to unleash different types of intent according to the situation. The Sword Lord had appeared behind Ling Xiao and said with a smile on his face, "Thank you for your guidance, mentor." Ling Xiao bowed and said, regardless of whether it was the Beast Master or the Sword Master, he was extremely respectful towards them. Although he was arrogant, when he met someone who was truly willing to help him, he would use his heart to respect the other party. "Sai, I really can't bear to part with you. But there's no other way. I can't stop you from improving. Old man Hua, you've been peeping for a long time. Aren't you going to come out?" The Sword Master sighed. "Old bitch, what nonsense are you spouting? What old ghost? I'm a delicate maiden. What a cheap mouth. You make it sound like I'm peeping on you. I just heard from Old Beast that there's a promising talent here, so I specially came to take a look." What suddenly appeared was a ball of crimson flames. A figure emerged from the raging flames. She looked to be a woman in her 30s and was exceptionally beautiful. Compared to Yu Fanghua and Shui Wushuang, she had a mature beauty. She actually stayed there the whole time. I didn't even notice. Ling Xiao was a little shocked. It seemed that he really had to be a little more humble. The higher he went, the more experts he would meet. He couldn't be careless. However, the old man who that the Sword Master and Beast Master were talking about was actually a beautiful woman. That surprised him. "Oh? Just to take a look?" Sword Master smiled faintly. Cough cough. "Young man, are you willing to follow me to cultivate the will of fire? I see that you've cultivated the will of sword, will of fire, and will of beast god the most. You've also used them the most. They're also the most powerful among all of your will of fire. You've cultivated the will of fire and will of beast god. Do you want to cultivate the will of fire?" "Of course." Ling Xiao agreed without hesitation. The reason was simple. The will of fire wasn't just for fighting. It was also the key to alchemy, weapon forging, and formation. More importantly, only when the will of fire became stronger would he be able to better control the flames. Currently, he couldn't freely use the celestial fire and divine fire to fight because the will of fire wasn't strong enough. Even controlling the strange fire required the help of the undying hell bird beast soul. The will of fire was indeed the key. "All right, follow me." Fire Lord grabbed Ling Xiao and flew into the sky. Should I ask her for something? Only after Fire Lord had left did Sword Master finally realize that he had been tricked by that old bastard Beast Lord. He should have tricked Fire Lord as well. But too bad, Fire Lord had left, and there was nothing he could do. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days had passed. Somewhere in the Blood Moon's secret realm, a volcano suddenly erupted. A massive amount of magma gushed out from the volcano and soared into the sky. What was shocking was that there was actually a person sitting cross-legged at the mouth of the magma. His entire body was red. It didn't look like he was burned, it looked more like the energy of the magma had merged with his body. My cultivation base has increased again, peak 2nd Heavenly Divine Core Realm. Ling Xiao excitedly checked the condition of her body. Not only had his cultivation base increased, even his body had broken through to the mid-7th Order Emperor realm after being continuously tempered by the flames. He was even stronger than before. This was not an easy thing to do. Will of Sword Dao, will of beast god, will of fire, great success. In terms of pure willpower, you are even stronger than many of the top warriors in the Shuiyu country. Fire Lord stood there, feeling excited and helpless at the same time. This young man was too monstrous. She had been cultivating for dozens of years, and she had only managed to break through to the completed fire will. Right now, she was only at the peak divine core realm, and it would be impossible for her to break through to the transformative realm. But Ling Xiao had shown her the hope of breaking through to the transformative realm. Thank you for the compliment, Fire Lord. Ling Xiao could feel that after his willpower increased, not only would it bring about a special effect when he condensed it into a martial skill, it would also increase the power of the skill. Normally, a completed will could increase a martial skill's offensive strength by 6 times. This was extremely powerful. Even if a martial skill's grade wasn't as high as someone else's, with the addition of his willpower, it might be able to catch up. In the past 20 days, Ling Xiao had gained a lot. Not only had his cultivation base increased to the peak second heavenly divine core realm, his willpower had increased greatly. Furthermore, his willpower had also improved greatly. He had also grasped different ways to use it. This made him extremely happy. At the same time, the others were cultivating as well. Somewhere in the Blood Moon's secret realm, a figure was flying around in the middle of a strange rock forest. Every time he struck out with his sword, a sharp sword beam would be emitted. The strange rock was shattered. This man's sword intent was extremely domineering, and the roar of a dragon could even be heard. It was shocking. Overlord's sword was floating in the air, watching his disciple Longjianshan cultivating. He was very satisfied. Longjianshan was definitely a genius. In the past 20 days, not only had he broken through to the Sword Dao Will, he had also broken through to the 5th Heavenly Divine Core Realm. He had also broken through to the peak 5th Heavenly Divine Core Realm, and had mastered 90% of his ocean energy. He was not far away from breaking through. Chapter 39:17. Long Jianshan, listen to me. Don't go overboard. Don't be too hasty, or else you'll be stuck at a standstill. I know you want to be above the other 9 geniuses. I also hope you can do it. But with your current strength, it won't be a problem for you to be ranked in the top 3. Don't be impatient, it will destroy you. Overlord Sword said when he noticed Long Jianshan's sword intent was in chaos. Long Jianshan was startled. He didn't know why, but he didn't really care about others. But Ling Xiao, who was also a sword user, he really wanted to be above him. He didn't want that guy to be above him. Therefore, when he was practicing his sword, Ling Xiao's domineering and disdainful figure would always appear in front of him. This made him really unhappy. Although he had no grudge against Ling Xiao. But because Ling Xiao had slapped his face and displayed a strength that was much stronger than he had imagined. That was why he was jealous. He was insanely jealous. Because of his jealousy, it gave birth to hatred. No matter how much Ling Xiao had improved, he still wanted to surpass Ling Xiao. He would never be defeated by a guy he looked down on. But he didn't know that Ling Xiao didn't take him seriously at all. In the past, Ling Xiao had even killed super geniuses like Gu Fenghua and Water White Wolf. He was just a mere Long Jianshan, nothing compared to him. In the last 10 days, Ling Xiao returned to the Demon Beast Forest. He didn't want to sit there and cultivate anymore. Instead, he wanted to improve his sword intent through battles. To him, sword intent was the most important thing. From the Heavenly Dragon continent to the Black Tortoise continent, he had always been obsessed with sword intent. Now, he wouldn't change. Ling Xiao stepped into the depths of the Demon Beast Forest. There were a lot of 5th, 6th, and even 7th Divine Core Demon Beasts there. Although the Beast Lord didn't want him to take the risk, once he had decided on something, he wouldn't change it. In front of the Beast Lord's cave, 3 figures were staring at the direction Ling Xiao disappeared. Are you really that relieved? The Sword Lord asked worriedly. You know this guy's personality. Once he has decided on something, who can change it? The Beast Master sighed. Let him be. I believe in him. The Fire Master smiled and said, It's a pity that the time was too short. I didn't have time to teach him any martial arts techniques. Yeah, what can you do in a month? It's really too short. The Beast Master said helplessly. Old beast, tell me the truth. Are you planning to nurture this brat into the signature of my Eternal Night Palace? Swordhead suddenly asked. Eternal Night Palace? You're too short-sighted. With his natural abilities, becoming the best cultivator of Shui wouldn't be a problem for him. The Fire Master rolled his eyes at the Sword Master. You're right. We've been accumulating strength for so many years. They wanted to become the fifth powerful country independent of the Western Kingdom in one fell swoop. But because the younger generation wasn't good enough, they didn't expose this ambition. However, this kid's appearance has turned this ambition into reality. The Sword Master pondered for a moment, and said, Bullshit. There is no such thing as a strong country in the Western continent, there is only a strong country in Shuiyu. If those things hadn't happened in the past, how could Shuiyu have ended up like this? The Beast Master said while gnashing his teeth. What had happened in the past had dealt a huge blow to Shuiyu. They had lost over 100 powerful warriors in a single night. A strong country had become a great country. The original Western Kingdom had become a strong country with the help of the Eastern Kingdom. Ling Xiao didn't know what the three old men were talking about. Right now, he had entered the depths of the Demon Beast Forest. For him, this was a test. Within the Demon Beast Forest, there were many high-ranked demon beasts. In the first 9 days, Ling Xiao was practically fighting non-stop for a moment. The demon beasts had been attacking him without any fear of death. Until the 10th day. While fighting crazily, Jiangchen had recovered his cultivation to the early 3rd Divine Core realm. It seemed like the demon beasts were scared of him, they no longer attacked him. Jiangchen seemed much more relaxed. It's the last day, I should go back. I've gained a lot in this 1 month. Looks like after the secret realm, I can leave Shuiyu and go to the Western Kingdom. Going to the Western Kingdom wasn't considered betrayal. Because many disciples from Shuiyu wanted to go to the Western Kingdom to further their studies. After all, the resources were not on the same level. Just as he was walking back, he suddenly heard the sound of fighting. He transformed into his shadow warrior form and curiously rushed over. Since he heard the sound of fighting here, he might run into someone he knew. It might be someone from the Eternal Night Palace. It might even be someone from Dark Frost or Lion Master Castle. It would be best if he could help. Right at this moment, a foul wind was blowing through the forest. Many branches had been broken and fallen. From time to time, the roars of some ferocious demon beasts could be heard. Ling Xiao sped up and arrived at a place about 100 meters away from the battlefield. He activated his Tai Chi Eye. The open space was already in a mess. There were 4 people surrounding and attacking a ferocious beast. The beast had a strange appearance. Its body was covered with a thick hard armor, and there were many sharp thorns. Each of the thorns was as sharp as a sword. It was terrifying. Of course, these weren't the scariest part. The scariest part was its poisonous claws and teeth. This demon beast was 2 meters tall and 3 meters long. It wasn't a big demon beast. However, its strength wasn't weak. Peak 5th Divine Core Realm. Its name was Sword Mountain Stinger. It was a type of hedgehog, but after cultivating, it was much stronger than ordinary hedgehogs. Even a perfect 5th Divine Core warrior would have no choice but to run for his life if he encountered this beast. As for the 4 men attacking the Sword Mountain Stinger, Ling Xiao knew 3 of them. Only one of them was an unfamiliar face. Among these 3 men, one was Dark Frost, one was Yang Mo, and the last one was Lion Master Castle. As for the unfamiliar face, he seemed to be the one with the highest cultivation amongst the 4 men. After 20 days, Dark Frost, Yang Mo, and Lion Master Castle had all made breakthroughs in their cultivation. Dark Frost had broken through to the late 5th Divine Core realm. The same went for Lion Master Castle. Yang Mo had broken through to the early 5th Divine Core realm. As for the unfamiliar face, he was a peak 5th Divine Core warrior. Compared to Shui Wuxuang, his strength wasn't any weaker. The strength of these 4 people was not too weak. But it wasn't easy to defeat the Sword Mountain Stinger. Most importantly, they hadn't worked together many times before. That was why their teamwork wasn't perfect. But Dark Frost's Secret Soul skill and Lion Master Castle's brute force were both able to make the Sword Mountain Stinger a tough opponent. Yang Mo's attacks were decent as well. Of course, the unfamiliar face wasn't bad either. After all, he was the one with the strongest cultivation. He wore a sky blue long robe, and held a long spear in his hand. With every attack, he would leave a wound on the Sword Mountain Stinger's body. All 4 men were smart. Although their teamwork wasn't perfect, they could still make adjustments during the fight. Chapter 39:18. Finally, under the siege of the 4 people, the Sword Mountain Stinger fell to the ground and died. In Ling Yao's eyes, among the 4 people, the one who put in the most effort was actually Dark Frost. Then it was Lion Master Bao. Then it was that unfamiliar face. Yang Mo's strength was the weakest, but he had already put in a lot of effort. It couldn't be helped that he contributed the least. But it was obvious that the unfamiliar face was very... Nah. He felt that he was the one who put in the most effort among the 4. Regardless of whether the other 3 people objected or not, he took the Sword Mountain Stinger's monster crystal core and put it into his storage ring. Qin Haodong, aren't you being too shameless? We agreed to split the things equally. Why are you taking it all for yourself now? Yang Mo couldn't help but say. Shut up, you trash, dare to question me, Qin Zhan. The unfamiliar face sneered. I came to your Eternal Night Palace because I gave you face. On the way, I met the 3 of you in the monster forest, so I helped. Without me, you all would have died. Don't deny it. This guy is stupid, we will die without him. Lion Master Bao was stunned for a moment and said, Your strength is not as good as mine. That's right, we don't need your help. This monster crystal core will be fed to the dogs. We can't be bothered to argue with you, but you can leave. Dark Frost said coldly. She couldn't stand this guy called Qin Zhan's rude appearance. Let me go. In your dreams. This Sword Mountain Stinger usually lives in groups, and usually 10 of them stay together. Every Sword Mountain Stinger's nest will have a Sword Mountain grass. You want to take it all for yourself? No way. Qin Zhan seemed to be relying on the 3 of them. Sword Mountain grass? Originally, Ling Xiao had already planned to leave. His friends were so strong, so there wouldn't be any danger. But when he heard Sword Mountain grass, his eyes suddenly lit up. Sword Mountain grass was a kind of strange grass that was born because it contained an extremely rich sword intent. After consuming it, not only could it improve one's cultivation, but more importantly, it could improve one's sword intent. No matter what effect it had, it would be of great help to him. So, this thing, he must get it. He was just about to show his face. Lion Xiaobao laughed coldly. Don't even think about that Sword Mountain grass. We're going to give it to a friend. Yes, I want to give it to Big Brother Ling Xiao. Dark Frost added. What is Ling Xiao? Qin Zhan said disdainfully. Aren't they just trash like you who were selected? Shut up. If you dare to speak ill of Big Brother Ling Xiao, I'll kill you. Yang Mo was also very respectful towards Ling Xiao. After all, if it hadn't been for Ling Xiao, he wouldn't have been recruited by Shuiyu. Haha, trash is trash. Are you afraid of what others say? Qin Zhan wasn't afraid of Yang Mo, nor was he afraid of Ling Xiao. If I'm trash, then what are you? Suddenly, a figure appeared beside Qin Zhan, giving him a fright. He didn't even notice that there was someone nearby. This was simply too terrifying. Who are you? Qin Zhan hurriedly dodged. He held his spear and looked at Ling Xiao with vigilance. Me? I'm the trash you're talking about. Ling Xiao looked at Qin Zhan mockingly. You're Ling Xiao? Qin Zhan's face didn't look too good. He had never seen Ling Xiao before. He had only heard of him. But now that he saw him, his heart was filled with a very strong panic. Ling Xiao's eyes were too terrifying. The aura he emitted was like a terrifying beast. It was as if he could swallow him in one bite. Moreover, the other side had changed from 3 to 4 people. He was only one. No matter what, he couldn't be a match. What do you want? I'm from Xiuyang Palace. Do you know Xiuyang Palace? They're much stronger than your Eternal Night Palace. If you dare to harm me, Xiuyang Palace won't let you go. Qin Zhan's words were somewhat fierce. I don't want to do anything. As long as you obediently apologize, then slap yourself twice and say you're trash. I can let you go. Ling Xiao mocked. He didn't know what Xiuyang Palace was. However, he even dared to provoke Dongxing country. Xiuyang Palace was just a force under Shuiyu country. What was he afraid of? In your dreams. Qin Zhan knew that a wise man didn't fight when the odds were against him. He turned around and ran. However, how could he be faster than Ling Xiao? He had just run 2 steps when he was stopped by Ling Xiao. Get lost! Qin Zhan roared. The long spear in his hand shook and stabbed at Ling Xiao. Oh, proficient in the will of the spear. Not bad. Ling Xiao smiled slightly and didn't use any weapons. He directly grabbed the spear with his hand. This was a Divine Emperor-level spear. It wasn't as strong as his physical body. If his physical body was compared to a magic weapon, it could be considered a spiritual Heavenly King-level defensive magic weapon. Will of Fire smelt. Suddenly, a blazing flame was released from his hand. The spear turned into liquid in an instant and dripped to the ground. It made a strange sizzling sound. Qin Zhan was startled and hurriedly let go of the spear. Because his hands had already felt the scalding heat. If he didn't throw it away, his hands would be directly burned. Brother Ling Xiao seems to have become stronger. Dark Frost smiled. Yes, I thought I could defeat him if I became stronger, but today I saw it. His progress is much greater than mine. Lion Xiaobao smiled wryly. Brother Ling Xiao is really powerful. Yang Mo said with a look of admiration. Damn it. Qin Zhan retreated dozens of steps and said, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you trash. He apologized because he was afraid of Ling Xiao's strength. It's useless to apologize now. You have to leave an arm. Chapter 39:19. The reason why Ling Xiao let Qin Zhan go today was because he was giving face to the Xiuyang Palace, and he didn't want to cause any trouble for the Eternal Night Palace. After all, he was being nurtured by the Beast Master, Sword Master, and Fire Master. He still had to take care of the Eternal Night Palace's interests. That's right, when has Big Bro Ling Xiao ever been afraid of them? Dark Frost hugged Ling Xiao's arm and said, It's been 20 days, I've missed Big Bro Ling Xiao so much. I've missed you guys too, but for now, let's focus on the Sword Mountain grass. Ling Xiao said. That's right, the Sword Mountain grass. But Brother Ling, there are still 9 Sword Mountain poison spikes in the cave. Ordinary ones are easy to deal with, but one of them should be the king of the Sword Mountain poison spikes. Perhaps it has reached the early 6th Divine Core realm. It's not easy to deal with it, Liu Xiaobao said. With the 4 of us working together, there's nothing to be afraid of. Ling Xiao didn't just rely on his martial arts. In order to get the Sword Mountain grass, he could use any formation or pill. In the midst of the lush weeds, there was a hidden cave. Even if a warrior had great eyesight, it wouldn't be easy for him to find this cave. Brother Ling, that's the place. Liu Xiaobao pointed at the cave hidden within the grass. What were you guys planning to do? Ling Xiao asked. The Sword Mountain poison spikes like poisonous things, so we only need something that can release their poison. We prepared some poisonous herbs, but with Brother Ling here, I don't think we need them anymore, Liu Xiaobao said with a smile. He had witnessed how Ling Xiao fought poison with poison, and how he killed Du Jiuyi. Good idea. Ling Xiao smiled, then he started setting up the formation. The formations he set up this time were 2 of the 10 terminal formation he had used before. One was the Raging Flame formation, and the other was the Golden Light formation. One of the 2 formations contained the Will of Fire. The other contained the Will of Sword. Under Ling Xiao's control, the formation's power was greatly increased. Ling Xiao had prepared the 10-terminal formation a long time ago, and he had sealed it in a formation refining stone. It was very effective. He set up the formation about a kilometer away from the cave. Because if they were too close, it would easily attract the attention of the other Sword Mountain venomous thorns in the cave. What they needed to do was to take advantage of the fact that the demonic beasts were not very smart, and defeat them one by one. At the very least, he couldn't let the poisonous thorns of the 9-headed Sword Mountain rush out. If that was the case, they would all be finished. After preparing everything, Ling Xiao released the 9-headed Hell Snake Beast spirit. Then, it swallowed and spat out poison mist. A small amount of poison slowly drifted into the cave. After a while, 2 of the Sword Mountain stingers finally walked out. "He's here!" Yang Emo was pleasantly surprised. "You guys go over there and set up an ambush. I'll lure these 2 guys over," Ling Xiao instructed, and then everyone began to move. He was very careful, turning back every few steps. He was neither too fast nor too slow. The 2 Sword Mountain stingers were lured into the golden light array. In an instant, he released his spirit formation martial spirit and enveloped the entire battlefield. There was only one reason for him to do this, and that was to prevent the other 7 Sword Mountain stingers from noticing him. The Sword Mountain stingers that fell into the golden light array didn't last long. Ling Xiao was surprised by the golden light array's current strength. A peak 5th Divine Core demon beast was turned into a porcupine in just 1 or 2 minutes. It looked like after his sword Dao Will had reached the level of major success, and his cultivation base had increased. The strength of this formation had become even more frightening. The last time he used the golden light array was in the western region. But now, he was using the golden light array in the western region. Perhaps it had something to do with the laws here. Just like that, they killed 6 of the poisonous spikes from the 9-headed Sword Mountain. The golden light array and raging flame array worked together, and it was extremely powerful. They didn't even need to attack. If I knew this would happen, I would have asked Brother Ling to come with us. "With you here, we don't have to fight, this is so easy," Lion Xiaobao said with a smile. "Damn it!" Ling Xiao furrowed his brows, because the last 3 Sword Mountain stingers had rushed out from the cave at the same time. The leader of the group, the Stinger King, was much smarter than the other Sword Mountain stingers. When it arrived in front of the golden light array and raging flame array, it suddenly stopped. It unleashed all of its stingers and attacked from a distance. The other 2 Sword Mountain stingers followed suit. Ling Xiao unleashed the firestorm wheels and blocked the stingers' attacks. After that, he said, "Brother Lion Darkfrost, you guys deal with the 2 smaller ones. I'll deal with the bigger one. Yan Mo, you help me from the side, help whoever is in trouble. Let's go!" Since they couldn't lure their opponents into a trap, they had no choice but to face them head-on. Right at this moment, no one would question his orders. Lion Xiaobao and Darkfrost each faced a Sword Mountain stinger. They were both peak 5th Divine Core stingers. For them, although it was a little troublesome, it wasn't a big problem. Besides, Yang Emo was helping them from the side. As for Ling Xiao, facing an early 6th Divine Core Stinger King by himself was still a little troublesome. But this was exactly what he wanted. He had now recovered to the early 3rd Divine Core realm. But this wasn't enough. He still needed to become stronger. During the battle, he used all the skills he had learned from the Beast Lord, Sword Lord, and Fire Lord. He used a normal attack that was infused with his will and killed the Sword Mountain Stinger King. When he killed the most troublesome Sword Mountain stingers, the battle between Lion Xiaobao and Dark Frost hadn't ended. But it seemed like they didn't need his help. In just a few seconds, the battle between the 2 had ended. "Brother Ling, you're the most frightening genius I've ever seen." Lion Xiaobao's praise was from the bottom of his heart. Because he wouldn't lie. At least, he wouldn't lie until now. He was really shocked by Ling Zhao's frightening combat strength. "Stop praising me, let's take out the Sword Mountain grass first." The few men carefully entered the cave. "Oh my heavens, this isn't just one Sword Mountain grass. There are 3 of them, we're rich." Right after entering the cave, Lion Xiaobao shouted out excitedly. Too bad, this sword mountain grass can only be used by warriors who cultivate the will of the sword. Brother Ling, you've got a great deal. Lion Xiaobao smiled bitterly. Of the 3 sword mountain grass, I'll take 2 and Yang Mo will take 1. As for the 2 of you, I'll give you pills as compensation. Dark Frost, this is a soul-stabilizing pill that I refined after coming to the Black Tortoise continent. It'll be of great help to your soul power. Lion Xiaobao, you're good at strength attacks and have the earth martial spirit. This core of the earth is for you. I got it in my hometown and haven't used it yet. Ling Xiao wouldn't mistreat his brothers. Everyone had worked hard, so he couldn't be the only one to get the benefits. If he always wanted to keep things for himself, then no one would dare to be friends with him in the future. Then I won't be polite. Lion Xiaobao was very straightforward. Dark Frost didn't dawdle, because she also knew Ling Xiao. Only Yang Mo was so excited that he didn't know what to say. Ling Xiao stuffed the sword mountain grass into his hand. Chapter 39:20. After distributing the spoils of war, everyone was preparing to leave. Suddenly, Ling Xiao frowned and said, "Who is it? Come out!" Lion Master Bao, Dark Frost, and Yang Mo hurriedly reacted and looked at the bushes not far away. "This is the Shuiyu secret world. Outsiders can't enter." "Who are you?" Dark Frost said coldly. I didn't expect to be discovered. The new recruits of the Eternal Night Palace are not bad." A sneer came from the forest. Then a group of people came out. There were about 30 of them. Their strength was not bad. Ling Xiao recognized one of them. It was Qin Zhan. "I said that if you cause trouble again, you will die." Ling Xiao looked at Qin Zhan. He didn't regret letting him go before. Letting him go was to prepare for killing. This way, if the Shuiyu country pursued him, he would have an excuse. When Qin Zhan saw Ling Xiao, he was a little afraid and stepped back. "Qin Zhan, don't be afraid. We have more than 30 people. There are only 4 of them. What are you afraid of?" The leader of the group looked like a woman, but his voice sounded like that of a male duck. Ling Xiao even suspected that this guy was a eunuch in the palace. After all, the Shuiyu secret world was the palace of the Shuiyu country. The duck voice revealed a cold, murderous Qi. The other party could injure Qin Zhan, so of course he wouldn't underestimate them. That was why he called so many helpers. The more people there were, the more confidence there would be. "What do you want?" Although the Eternal Night Palace and the Shuiyang Palace have never been on good terms, they are still part of the Shuiyu country. "You are not planning to attack us here, are you?" Yang Mo frowned. Don't worry. After all, we are from the same sect. How could I bear to kill you? Hand over all your storage rings, then leave that little girl behind so that we can have some fun. This matter is over." The duck voice sneered. The group of people followed and laughed exaggeratedly. Dark Frost's face suddenly became gloomy. She used to be a person of high status, so she was a little domineering. How could she not be angry that someone dared to humiliate her like this? "I think you guys don't have to go back today." Ling Zhao's body suddenly emitted a shocking killing intent. In that instant, a few of the 30 or so people on the other side were frightened. "Kill!" The moment the murderous aura bloomed, Ling Xiao moved. Since he dared to humiliate the girl whom he treated as his younger sister, if he didn't kill him, what was the point of keeping him alive? Falling plumb clear shadow step was displayed. He activated his cosmic body. His entire body dashed over like a ghost. The man with the croaky voice didn't expect Ling Xiao to be so bold as to make a move on him. He wasn't afraid of their numbers at all. When he tried to wave the weapon in his hand to block, Ling Zhao's sword had already pierced through his throat. Then, a terrifying flame ignited on his body. His Niden was actually burnt and cracked. His soul eventually perished amidst his miserable cries. Dark Frost's attacks were not much slower than Ling Zhao's. Suddenly, a giant white bone hand stretched out from the ground and dragged several warriors into the ground. In an instant, they had already lost their lives. Lion Master attacked almost at the same time. Ferocious fists exploded in the crowd. Under one punch, 3 people were killed and several were injured. Yang Mo's reaction was slower, but he also assassinated the injured person. Once the 4 people attacked, they were no longer merciful. Whether they were from Shui Yu or not, they dared to ambush them here and be so disrespectful to them. If they didn't kill them, it wouldn't be enough to vent their anger. In an instant, 7 or 8 of the 32 people were dead. The people of Xiuyang Palace were stunned. Qin Zhan was so scared that he turned around and fled. Ling Xiao had already let him go once. This time, no matter what, he wouldn't let him go. He pointed with his right hand. The wind from his finger turned into a sharp sword and shot out. Piercing through the void, there were bursts of explosions in the air, and finally pierced Qin Zhan's dantian, killing him. I said that if I let you go, you should cherish it. Since you don't know how to cherish it, it's better to die. The hunter had become the prey. The situation had changed too quickly. The people of Xiuyang Palace didn't even have time to react. They reorganized their formation and were about to regroup. Now, only 20 people were left from the 32 people. The corpses on the ground were still trembling in a strange manner. Blood had dyed the ground red, attracting the attention of the surrounding demon beasts. Don't be afraid, we have more people. We were just attacked by surprise just now, that's why we lost our composure. A strong warrior walked out from the crowd. Although this man didn't say anything before, Ling Xiao had been paying attention to him. Because he was the one with the highest cultivation in this group. Early 6th Divine Core Realm. That was the strength of the Poison Thorn King from Sword Mountain. He stood out because he had no other choice. He wanted to regroup, so he had to do this. Otherwise, all of them would have to die. This man was holding a long spear, the same weapon as Qin Zhan's, but its quality was better than Qin Zhan's. It was a mortal rank Heavenly King weapon. You talk too much! Ling Xiao immediately attacked. The spear wielder was startled. He quickly waved his spear to defend himself. Ling Xiao's fist smashed onto the long spear. Crack! The long spear and its handle shattered at the same time. How could this be? The spear wielder felt his heart ache. This was a weapon he had spent a lot of effort to get, but it was destroyed by Ling Xiao so easily. How could he not feel his heart ache? But he didn't have the time to mourn for his fallen weapon. This was because after Ling Xiao's fist shattered the spear, it was still aiming for his head without any hesitation. Left with no other choice, he could only defend himself with both hands. Bang! Crack! The spear wielder was sent flying by the punch. The bones in both his arms were shattered, and his arms were hanging on both sides of his body. Looking at this scene, no one could believe what they had just seen. Ling Xiao, an early 3rd Divine Core warrior, was able to easily injure an early 6th Divine Core warrior. This was too unreasonable. In fact, Ling Xiao wasn't satisfied with this attack. His body was as tough as a spiritual rank Heavenly King weapon, and his black tortoise divine body was a mid-7th Order Emperor. He should have been able to kill this guy with a single punch. Since he didn't, it could only be said that he didn't perform well enough. Of course, his opponent wasn't weak either. This is bad. How can this guy called Ling Xiao be so strong? This is terrifying. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Run! Although both of his arms were broken, both of his legs were still intact. The spear wielder leapt up into the sky, then he turned around and tried to escape. However, Ling Xiao's speed was faster than his. After that, Jiangchen punched the man's dantian. His dantian exploded. After that, Jiangchen pierced the man's throat with his sword. When the man's body fell to the ground, all the men from the Xiuyang Palace were so scared that they didn't dare to attack. Kill them all! Don't leave a single one alive! Ling Xiao wouldn't show any mercy this time. Since he had already killed someone, he might as well kill all of them and destroy all evidence. Chapter 39-21. While speaking, Ling Xiao released the martial spirit barrier, trapping all the people of the Xiuyang Palace in the battlefield. It was like a prey that had been trapped. They were killed one by one. Although these people were not weak, compared to Ling Xiao and the others, they were far behind. Not long after, all the people of the Xueyang Palace were killed. Ling Xiao released the will of fire and burned everyone, destroying the corpses. When you go back, no one mention what happened today. Soon it will be the day to go to the secret realm. Go back to your mentors and stay there. Don't come out so easily. The four of them had all gained benefits, so they naturally had to cultivate for a few days. Anyway, the day to go to the secret realm was not fixed. It was only said that it would take more than a month. But they didn't know how many days it would take. They could cultivate for as long as they could. Watching Lion Master, Dark Frost, and Yang Mo leave, Ling Xiao also returned to the Beast Master's cave. He sat down, swallowed the sword mountain grass, and began to cultivate. The higher the cultivation, the higher the chance of obtaining benefits in the secret realm. He might not care about other things, but he had to get the beast god's blood. So, another 3 days passed. Just now, the higher-ups said to gather the warriors who are participating in the secret realm. We are leaving today. But Ling Xiao hasn't finished cultivating yet. What should we do? The Beast Master looked at Ling Xiao anxiously. Don't worry, there is still some time. They said to gather this afternoon, so there should be a few hours. If he really can't break through, then give up temporarily. The Sword Master thought for a moment. That's the only way. But I can feel that his aura is constantly rising. He should have reached the limit. Let me help him. While speaking, the Fire Master suddenly released a ball of fire and blasted toward Ling Xiao's body. This was not a random attack. Instead, it just happened to help Ling Xiao break through the willpower barrier. The other two also attacked at the same time. About an hour later, Ling Xiao opened his eyes. A sword intent word shot out from his eyes, as if it was real. Peak sword intent. He actually broke through to the peak. Small success, expert. Large success, peak, perfection, transformative, immortal, nihility. These were all the realms of martial wills. Reaching the peak of sword intent was already considered an outstanding existence. One had to know that even the Sword Master only had perfect sword intent. Thank you, seniors! Ling Xiao stood up. His sword Dao Will had reached its peak, and his cultivation had broken through to the mid-third divine core realm. These 3 days were not in vain. The reason why he was grateful to the three of them was because of their final assistance, which allowed him to comprehend the peak of sword intent so quickly. Otherwise, it would probably take a long time for it to end. There's no need to thank me. You were the one who got the sword mountain grass. It was your own perception that helped you. We are just adding fuel to the fire. The Fire Lord smiled. You're adding fuel to the fire, but I'm adding a sword, the Sword Master said. Don't tell me I threw in a wild beast. The Beast King smiled bitterly. All right, let's stop joking around. Let's tell him about our trip to the secret realm, the Fire Lord said. The other two became serious as well. The Beast Master looked at Ling Xiao and said, The trip to the secret realm is a little complicated. Because none of us have been there before, no one knows what's inside. It could be a tomb of some mighty warrior. It could also be the remains of an ancient palace. It could also be a miracle sent from the heavens. All in all, the reason why the secret realm is called a secret realm is because there are secret treasures inside. The dangers you will face will not only come from your competitors, but also from all sorts of unknown dangers in the secret realm. You have to be extra careful. Remember this, if you lose your life, you'll lose everything. Nothing is more important than a human life. The Sword Master nodded his head and said, That's right, don't think that you're strong. In front of those mighty warriors from the ancient times, you're nothing. If it wasn't for the mountain and river martial soul, compared to those warriors from the ancient times, the warriors of today would be like ants. No matter if it's formations, traps, anything can kill you. Disciple understands. Of course, Ling Xiao knew about this. He had entered many secret realms. All of them were filled with danger. Although he survived, many of the people who went in with him died. Just the tomb of the ancient Emperor Dongxing had killed many experts. How could he be careless? After all, not every secret realm would be on his side. Some might even target him. It's good that you understand. Little Fire, I'll have to trouble you to bring him to the gathering point. The two of us have been in seclusion for many years and don't care about worldly affairs. Just pretend that we don't exist. The Beast Master looked at the Fire Master and said, No problem. The Fire Master nodded and said, Let's go, kid. I'll wait for you to return from the secret land. When you come back, you can reunite with these two old guys. Ling Xiao looked at the Beast Master and the Sword Master deeply. He was a person who clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred. He would take revenge for any grievances and repay any kindness. Let's go. Those little guys who were recruited with you should be at Little Wolf's ranch. The Fire Master smiled and left with Ling Xiao. At this time, in the open space outside the ranch, Dragon Sword Mountain, Yilingyan, Ghost Valley, Three Devils, Dark Frost, Lion Master Fort, and Yang Mo had all arrived. Most of them came with their own mentors. Only Dark Frost actually came with Shui Wushuang. The mentors of these two didn't even appear. The reason why the mentors followed them was naturally to see how their own disciples compared to other disciples. Everyone had the heart to compare, and they were no exception. Overlord Sword was a proud person, but when he saw Yiling Yan's mentor, Blood Dragon, he still respectfully addressed him as Blood Dragon Commander. This was because not only was Blood Dragon's cultivation much stronger than his status was also much higher. Looking at Yiling Yan, he understood why Blood Dragon agreed to be this girl's mentor. Yiling Yan's talent was indeed stronger than Dragon Sword Mountain's. The mentors of the Ghost Valley Three Devils were different people, but their strength and status were not as good as Overlord Sword's. So in this way, Yiling Yan was naturally first and Dragon Sword Mountain second. The Ghost Valley Three Devils were about the same. Dark Frost and Shui Wushuang's mentors did not appear, so it was hard to judge. Furthermore, Overlord Sword and Blood Dragon did not know who their mentors were. Otherwise, they could have estimated it. As for Lion Master Fort, he had been waiting here alone for a long time. He also did not know who his mentor was. This confused the mentors of Overlord Sword, Blood Dragon, and Ghost Valley Three Devils. Ling Xiao hasn't arrived yet? Dragon Sword Mountain said impatiently. Humph, his cultivation is the lowest, but his arrogance is the highest. Shut up! What do you know? At this moment, the Wolf General walked out with a gloomy expression. Speaking of which, Ling Xiao was also his young master, so he naturally had to protect him. Dragon Sword Mountain was startled. He did not know how he had offended this Wolf General. He was helpless. But there was nothing he could do. He couldn't beat him, and he didn't dare to say anything. Chapter 39:22. Whoosh! A ball of fire landed not far from the ranch. Beside her was a handsome young man. Seeing the beautiful woman walking out of the fire, Overlord Sword, Blood Dragon, and the other experts all revealed expressions of shock. Then, they looked at the handsome young man, Ling Xiao, with a deep gaze. Overlord Sword and Blood Dragon looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They both felt that their disciples were the most outstanding. However, seeing this scene, they really didn't know what to say. Ling Xiao had actually received the personal guidance of the Fire Lord. This was enough to show that Ling Xiao's talent was completely above their disciples. This Ling Xiao, instead of cultivating properly, he goes around fooling around. I wonder where he got such a beautiful woman from. So he likes mature ones. Long Jianshan laughed mockingly. When he saw Ling Xiao, he seemed to feel that he was an eyesore and uncomfortable, so he didn't keep his mouth shut. Shut up, you bastard! Overlord Sword was shocked and hurriedly scolded in a low voice. Long Jianshan had never seen Overlord Sword so terrified and angry. He couldn't help but shut his mouth. At this moment, the few mentors present, including General Wolf, all bowed respectfully to the beautiful woman. Subordinate greets Lord Fire Lord. Fire Lord! Long Jianshan's face instantly turned pale. His entire body was trembling. This was the legendary Fire Lord. He had actually almost caused a fatal disaster. If it wasn't for Overlord Sword stopping him from speaking nonsense and being heard by the Fire Lord, he would probably have turned into ashes by now. But why? He couldn't accept it. Why could a person like Ling Xiao receive the guidance of a top expert like the Fire Lord? Even his teacher had to bow and scrape before him. Jealousy. Even more intense jealousy. He had never felt that he was inferior to Ling Xiao. However, the opportunities he received were much worse than Ling Xiao's. This caused his mentality to become even more twisted. Although he didn't say it, the jealousy in his heart had already turned black. Bam! Just as he was thinking, Long Jianshan suddenly felt his body fly up. He flew up uncontrollably. Finally, he slammed into the wall of the ranch. His internal organs were all injured. I hope that Lord Fire Master will show mercy. This child doesn't know any better and is speaking nonsense. Overlord Sword was such a proud person, but at this moment, he had no choice but to kneel down and plead for mercy for Dragon Sword Mountain. For your sake, I've already been very polite. Otherwise, do you think he would still be alive after I made my move? Be careful what you say next time, or you won't even know how you died. Fire Lord coldly glanced at Dragon Sword Mountain, then ignored him. Then, he looked at General Wolf and said, Your master, that old fellow, said that he has gone into seclusion and is unwilling to show his face. That's why I came. That little demon was the hope of the Eternal Night Palace and even of Shuiyu. Take care of it for me. Understood? Fire Master, Ling Xiao can be considered my young master now. Naturally, I wouldn't dare to neglect him. General Wolf replied. Hearing the conversation between the two, the others were shocked. Shui Wushuang, in particular, simply could not accept it. Listening to the Fire Master's words, it seemed that the Beast Master was also personally instructing Ling Xiao. What kind of situation was this? Regardless of whether it was the Fire Master or the Beast Master, they were both top-level existences in Shuiyu. Although they rarely cared about the affairs of Shuiyu nowadays. But at the same time, they were instructing a young cultivator. This kind of thing had never happened before. Including her, she did not have such qualifications. Although she was not as jealous as Dragon Sword Mountain, there were some mixed feelings in her heart. Thinking about how arrogant she used to be in front of Ling Xiao, she blushed. Compared to Ling Xiao, apart from her identity as a princess, she really did not have any advantages. Alright, I've sent him here, it's time to go back. Little Wolf, you take care of the rest. After the Fire Master finished speaking, he turned into a flame and disappeared into the horizon. After seeing how powerful he was, everyone could breathe a sigh of relief. General Wolf said at this time, I think you all heard from the teachers. Shuiyu is actually divided into 12 palaces. The Eternal Night Palace is only one of them, and it is currently the weakest palace. Because of this, it is allowed to contact the outside world. The Imperial Court outside is actually just a cover to numb the enemies of Shuiyu. In fact, this time, besides the 10 of you, there are another 110 people who are going to the secret territory. Every one of them is an expert. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand that you are nothing. So you must be humble and honest. Alright, let's stop talking nonsense. Let's go to the real imperial city of Shuiyu. After that, General Wolf turned into a snow wolf and soared into the sky. The 10 people who were going to the secret territory also followed. As for the teachers, they couldn't go. On the way, Ling Xiao, Lion Master Bao, Dark Frost, and Yan Yamo stayed together. The 3 demons of Gui Gu stayed together. Yulin Yan was always alone. Shui Wushuang still maintained his arrogance, flying at the front, following General Wolf. As for Dragon Sword Mountain, he fell behind, his eyes were filled with intense hatred, staring at Ling Xiao's back. Ling Xiao and the others were talking about the 12 palaces at this time. Brother Ling Xiao, we killed so many people of Xuyang Palace, will they know? Yang Mo directly asked through soul transmission. Don't worry, in the deep forest, they have been destroyed. Even if Xueyang Palace suspects, there is no evidence. Ling Xiao said. Don't talk about this, the three of you seem to have improved. Of course, thanks to the good things you gave us. Lion Master Bao laughed and said, my cultivation has caught up with those 6 guys, and my fighting strength has surpassed them. Me too. Dark Frost also said. I'm almost there, but I've improved, and my sword intent has reached the level of proficiency. Yang Emo said modestly. He knew that he was the weakest, so he had to work harder. It's good that you've improved. There will be a lot of experts in the secret territory. You need to be stronger to get what you want. Ling Zhao's strength had also improved. But for him, it was far from enough. He still needed to become stronger. As they spoke, they could already see a majestic palace. At this time, they had been flying for more than an hour. It was enough to see how far the palace was from the entrance. It was also enough to see how big the Snow Moon's secret territory was. The secret territory Imperial Court is actually where the Ice Palace is located. The Ice Palace is the strongest existence in the 12 palaces. Remember, don't cause trouble, or if you get humiliated, don't blame me for not warning you. General Wolf was also helpless. These years, Eternal Night Palace was weak in terms of disciples. Otherwise, they wouldn't have recruited warriors from outside to participate in the secret territory. In the world of warriors, the weak would be beaten and humiliated. This was the same everywhere. The Ice Palace was much larger than Eternal Night Palace. It was also clear that the atmosphere was more lively. Disciples who were cultivating or resting could be seen everywhere. Unlike Eternal Night Palace, there were basically not many people. Chapter 39-23. The moment they stepped into the Ice Palace, Ling Xiao and the others felt countless gazes on them. The Eternal Night Palace was the furthest away from the Imperial Court, so they were the last to arrive. The other 11 palaces had already arrived. Looking at them, they were all dressed in the same way, and it was obvious that they were all wearing Dharma treasures. They were at least Divine Emperor-level defensive Dharma treasures. But what about them? Their clothes were messy, and they looked like a ragtag army that had been put together at the last minute. The others were regular soldiers. There was no comparison at all. Perhaps because of this, these people's gazes were not friendly. Most of them had mocking expressions. There were not many friendly gazes. TSK, I really didn't expect the Eternal Night Palace, which was even stronger than the Ice Palace in the past, to be reduced to such a state. Now, it has fallen to such a state. Only Shui Wuxuang could be chosen for this trip to the secret realm. The rest can only rely on external help to make up the numbers. TSK, why did you come? Aren't you embarrassed enough? This thick mockery came from the Xueyang Palace camp. The Xueyang Palace martial artists were all dressed in snow white with a red sun embroidered on it. They were like dog-skin plasters. Hearing this person's mockery, the Eternal Night Palace people's reactions were different. Some people felt ashamed and lowered their heads. Meanwhile, some people felt anger and displeasure, glaring angrily. No matter what, being mocked was not a good thing. Finding external help means that you know your place, unlike the Xueyang Palace, a bunch of trash who think you're all right. Ling Xiao was a person with a strong sense of honor. Since he had joined the Eternal Night Palace and was valued and nurtured by them, then he would treat himself as a member of this group. Whoever insulted the Eternal Night Palace was insulting him. How could he not speak? Kid, who are you? How dare you slander the Xueyang Palace? The Xueyang Palace disciples were filled with righteous indignation. What a joke! Only you can slander us, but we can't speak the truth. This time, Shui Wuxuang stood on Ling Zhao's side. After all, they were all from the Eternal Night Palace, and Shui Wuxuang was also a representative of the Eternal Night Palace. If she didn't support Ling Xiao, was she supposed to support the other party? Haha, Shui Wuxuang, you really know how to lie through your teeth. Although I don't know how you guys managed to trick those idiots into joining you. But what they didn't know was that the Eternal Night Palace was at most one of the 12 palaces of Xueyu. The difference in strength is too great, so much so that I have no interest in treating you as competitors. These words scolded the Eternal Night Palace, Ling Xiao, and the others. As soon as he said that, most of the people in the hall burst into laughter. It was clear that the Shuoyang Palace was not the only one that looked down on the Eternal Night Palace. It was the same for the other palaces. Yuan Hai, don't you dare humiliate my Eternal Night Palace again! Shui Wuxuang's temper was not good. She was a proud person. How could she tolerate others humiliating the place where she grew up? His home. In that instant, a terrifying chill blossomed from her body. He pounced on the man named Yuan Hai. Yuan Hai was a late 5th Heavenly Corps warrior. There was no way he could be Shui Wuxuang's match. He was so scared that he quickly hid behind one of the men and shouted, "Senior disciple Xingye, help me!" The man named Xingye didn't move away. Instead, he coldly stared at Shui Wuxuang and said, "This is the Imperial Palace, Shui Wuxuang, do you want to fight?" While speaking, he unleashed his terrifying aura as well. His aura was exactly the same as Shui Wuxuang's. Both were bone-piercing cold. But obviously, he was stronger than Shui Wuxuang. He easily blocked Shui Wuxuang's cold aura. "Get lost!" Shui Wuxuang was furious. No matter who it was, if they dared to block her way, she would attack. She unleashed a freezing wind with both of her palms. It was like a snowstorm. Everyone was watching the show. Fights between disciples were very common in Shuiyu. As long as no one was killed or crippled, nothing would happen. "Too weak," Xingye sneered. He gently took a step forward and threw out a punch. For a moment, his fist energy seemed to have turned into a meteorite condensed from frost. It shattered Shui Wuxuang's palm. It even pushed Shui Wuxuang back. Early 6th Divine Core Realm, and at this level, he was one of the strongest fighters. Shui Wuxuang was no match for him. This man obviously wanted to embarrass Shui Wuxuang. That's why he didn't show any mercy. If no one went to support Shui Wuxuang, then Shui Wuxuang would definitely fall flat on her back. If someone dared to help her up, apart from General Lang, he didn't think anyone in the Eternal Night Palace could stop him. However, right at this moment, a muscular man suddenly appeared behind Shui Wuxuang. He hugged Shui Wuxuang, then gently put her down. "Master said, a man bullying a woman is shameful." The man hugging Shui Wuxuang was Lion Xiaobao. Although he didn't like Shui Wuxuang, he didn't like people who bullied the weak even more. He was a straightforward man. "Oh? I didn't expect there to be someone like you in the Eternal Night Palace. But Shui Wuxuang, you should be the strongest disciple in the Eternal Night Palace. Our senior disciple Xingye is also the strongest genius in the Snow Sun Palace. You two are a perfect match. Why don't you follow my senior disciple Xingye? Maybe you can even give birth to an even more outstanding baby." Yuan Hai's words became even more unpleasant to hear. It was probably because Xingye defeated Shui Wuxuang, so he was even more unbridled. Trash that can't spit out ivory from a dog's mouth. You only know how to stand behind others and hoot, like a clown borrowing the tiger's might. I'm the weakest in the Eternal Night Palace. If you have the ability, do you dare to spar with me? This Yuan Hai was really infuriating. What Ling Xiao hated the most was this kind of person. He didn't have any fart ability, and only knew how to hide behind others and hoot blindly. Fight with you? Are you worthy? Yuan Hai gave Ling Xiao a contemptuous glance and said disdainfully, "If you're scared, then you're scared. The Snow Sun Palace is just a bunch of bastards cowards." Ling Xiao's eyes were even more contemptuous. His tone was even more provocative. He didn't like to be taken advantage of, and even more disliked being humiliated by others. Giving others a taste of their own medicine, that was his style. "How dare you! The Snow Sun Palace is not a place for trash like you to humiliate." Before Yuan Hai could say anything, Xingye had already become angry. "You keep calling others trash. Brother Ling, I'll make the first move." Lion Master Bao was a straightforward man. He was no match for others when it came to arguing, therefore, he would make the first move. All right, among the 10 of us, I'm the weakest, and you're the second last. In that case, you should go and get rid of their so-called number 1. Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. He knew Lion Master Bao's strength very well. Not to mention Xingye was only at the early 6th Divine Core realm. Even if he was at the mid-6th Divine Core realm, he might not be Lion Master Bao's match. When Lion Master Bao unleashed his primal strength, it would be extremely powerful. No problem. Lion Master Bao listened to Ling Xiao the most. Chapter 39-24. Ling Xiao was the first friend Xiao Bao had made since he came to the mortal world, and his first boss. He was convinced, and he was willing to listen to Ling Xiao. Of course, it wasn't only because of Ling Xiao's strength, it was also because of Ling Xiao's generosity. If not for Ling Xiao, he wouldn't have been able to break through to the peak 5th Heavenly Core realm. Xiao Bao looked at Starry Night, then he let out a loud laugh and said, "Let me have a taste of your so-called number 1 strength. Take this." After saying that, Xiao Bao leapt into the sky, and the roar of a lion could be heard from his body. In an instant he arrived in front of Starry Night. At this moment, it was as if Xiao Bao had turned into a 9-spirit lion. The brutal pressure caused many warriors from the Xueyang Palace to tremble in fear. What? Starry Night didn't take Xiao Bao seriously at all. But now, when he sensed the frightening pressure, even his skin was slightly deformed. His legs couldn't bear the pressure anymore. This made him realize how frightening Xiao Bao was. In fact, the smartest thing he could do was to avoid Xiao Bao's attack. But Xiao Bao didn't give him the chance. Besides, he was the top 10 geniuses from the Xueyang Palace. He was the leader. If he chose to avoid the attack, where would he put his face? Where would the Xueyang Palace's face go? Wouldn't it prove what those people from the Eternal Night Palace said? They were frogs at the bottom of a well? Cowards? Break for me! A moment of hesitation had caused Starry Night to lose his best chance to avoid the attack. He furiously roared out, then he punched out with both fists. The cold meteor exploded once again. Compared to the fist energy he used to fight Shui Wushuang, it was even stronger. A bone-chilling wind blew, and the surrounding air instantly became cold. Kneel down before me! In terms of voice and aura, Xiao Bao wouldn't lose to Starry Night. While roaring out, he unleashed the primal force from his body. He was like a primordial lion. He forcefully grabbed onto Starry Night's fists. Boom! The fist and palm collided, producing a frightening explosion. Everyone present was astonished. Looking at Xueyang Palace's Starry Night, he was already kneeling on one knee, blood seeping out from the corner of his mouth. Lion Master Bao looked down from above, arrogant and angry. I asked you to kneel on both knees, not one. Roar! The ferocious lion's roar sounded again. Cracks began to form on the ground. Starry Night's 2 knees were actually forcefully pressed down, and his 2 legs knelt on the ground. Everyone looked at this scene in shock, feeling inexplicably horrified. Could it be that Liu Xiao Bao was a descendant of a ferocious beast from ancient times? What was going on with the power in his body? You can't even defeat the second-to-last member of our Eternal Night Palace. To think that you're called number 1 in the Xueyang Palace. What a joke! In the future, when people from the Xueyang Palace see people from the Eternal Night Palace, they will obediently kneel on the ground. Don't embarrass yourself. How dare you say that we are the weakest? Ling Xiao would not let go of the opportunity to ridicule the other party. Although the people of Xueyang Palace were furious, they couldn't find any reason to refute. Starry Night was the strongest among the 10 of them. Now, even Starry Night was suppressed by Lion Master Castle. How could they still say anything? Lion Master Castle smiled and said, This guy is actually pretty strong, but compared to me and Brother Ling, he's still far weaker. What he said was the truth. But the problem was, Ling Xiao had said that he was the last, and Lion Master Castle was the second to last. Wasn't he mocking Starry Night for being weaker than the last of the Eternal Night Palace? In fact, everyone could tell that Lion Master Castle's overall strength was definitely stronger than Shui Wushuang. At least, in terms of pure offensive strength, Shui Wuxuang was definitely weaker than Lion Master Castle. Therefore, Ling Zhao's words were just a casual remark. Humph, you said that others only know how to hide behind and complain, then what about you? Starry Night wiped off the blood from the corner of his mouth and stood up. He admitted that he was defeated by Lion Master Castle, but it was because he underestimated his opponent. But he was currently injured, and even if he fought again, he wouldn't be a match for Lion Master Castle. In order to vent his anger, he threw his glance at Ling Xiao. Me? Don't tell me you want to fight me, a mid-third Divine Core warrior? Ling Xiao said with a mocking tone. If you don't have the guts, then shut your stinky mouth. Starry Night scolded. I don't have the guts? Ling Xiao let out a bright smile. Brother Lion, he said I don't have the guts to fight him. Ling Xiao looked at Lion Master Castle and said with a smile on his face. That's impossible, he can't even defeat me, he's no match for you, Brother Ling. Lion Master Castle said in a straightforward manner. That's right, but since he asked, I can't reject him. I don't want others to say that I'm bullying an injured man, I'll let him recover first. As for that trash called Yuan Hai, let's fight first. Ling Xiao looked at Yuan Hai and said. Just as Yuan Hai was about to say something, Ling Xiao spoke first. Don't tell me you're going to say that I'm not qualified to fight you again? Don't tell me you think you're stronger than Starry Night? Even Starry Night wants to fight me. How dare you look down on me? Do you think Starry Night is stupider than you, and weaker than you? His words had completely shut down Yuan Hai's reason for rejecting the challenge. I'm not going to fight, what are you going to do about it? Yuan Hai was even more cowardly than Ling Xiao had imagined. He was at least a late 5th rank Divine Core warrior. Facing Ling Xiao, who was a mid-3rd rank Divine Core warrior, he didn't even have the courage to fight him. Just like what Ling Xiao said, he was a complete coward. Do you think I'll stop just because you said so? Do you think it's up to you? Everyone has to be responsible for their own words. Do you think it's exciting to hide just because you're acting tough? If you want to act tough, you have to be prepared to pay the price. Ling Xiao sneered, then he walked towards Yuan Hai. It was as if all the other men from the Xueyang Palace didn't exist in his eyes. Suddenly he sped up. He was so fast that only Starry Night could see him clearly, and he was able to react. As long as I'm here, don't even think about hurting a single hair on my Xueyang Palace's warriors. Starry Night was beaten up by Lion Master Castle, and he was furious. In his mind, Lion Master Castle was the strongest man in the Eternal Night Palace. I can't defeat the strongest man, but you think I can't defeat the weakest man here? He didn't know that Ling Xiao wasn't the weakest man in the Eternal Night Palace, but his cultivation was definitely the weakest. Therefore, there was no need for him to be afraid. Do you really think you can stop me? What a joke! Ling Xiao let out a disdainful sneer. With the falling plum-clear shadow step, he turned into a blur. He flew past Starry Night. Starry Night wanted to catch him, but all he could catch was a blur. Slap! Right after that, he heard the sound of someone being slapped in the face. He quickly turned around and saw Ling Xiao grabbing Yuan Hai's collar with one hand and slapping him in the face with the other. Yuan Hai's mouth instantly became swollen. I told you, if I want to teach you a lesson, he won't be able to stop me. He threw the dizzy and frightened Yuan Hai aside. Ling Xiao turned around and looked at Starry Night. You really want to taste the feeling of being beaten? I'll fulfill your wish. I'll give you a chance now, make your move. Chapter 39-25. Arrogant! Starry Night had never been so despised and humiliated. In a fit of rage, a strange meteorite martial soul appeared behind him. The surface of this meteorite was covered with a thick layer of ice, revealing a cold aura. In an instant, the cold air completely surrounded Ling Xiao. Boy, I will let you know what the consequences of attacking my Xueyang Palace's martial artists are. If you have the strength, don't be loud. Ling Xiao's hands were shining with a red light. But there was no flame. There was only a blazing heat rising above his fists. Since the other party used ice, then he would use fire to melt it. Kill! Starry Night finally roared, his figure scuttling forward, suddenly pouncing towards Ling Xiao. It was like a small iceberg. Wherever it went, the wind danced, and the cold was bone-chilling. At that moment, Ling Xiao also attacked at the same time. A terrifying fire intent erupted from his fists. The blazing energy fiercely hit the cold fist. There was no rumbling sound. Everyone saw a strange scene. A vast expanse of white steam suddenly enveloped the two people fighting. No one knew what happened in the steam. Only a moment later, Starry Night flew out of the steam. He fell directly in the center of the hall, battered and exhausted. Everyone looked at the white steam in surprise. A voice came from inside. The people of the Xueyang Palace are all trash who overestimate themselves. It seems that what I said before was not wrong at all. At the same time the voice sounded, Ling Xiao walked out unscathed and stood beside Dark Frost and Lion Xiao Bao. The people of the Xueyang Palace had gloomy faces. They were angry and ashamed. Their people had previously mocked the Eternal Night Palace as the weakest palace in Xueyu. But now, their young leader, Starry Night, was defeated by 2 people in a row. Even the usual 10? Yuan Hai was also beaten up like a pig's head. He had really lost all his face. The Eternal Night Palace wants to cause trouble. Some of the martial artists from the other 10 palaces began to discuss. After seeing the strength of Lion Master Fort and Ling Xiao, they no longer dared to ridicule the Eternal Night Palace. Originally, in the world of martial artists, it had always been about talking with one's fists. Whose fist was hard enough? Whose fist was big enough? Whoever received respect. Otherwise, they would only be looked down upon and even humiliated. These 10 people are all quite strong. It seems that there is no lack of experts in the secular world, someone else said. So what? A haughty voice rang out. It immediately attracted everyone's attention. This person wore a golden battle robe with a crown embroidered on it. That was the first genius of the Ice Imperial Palace of Xueyu, Bing Xuanji. Having achieved success at a young age, Bing Xuanji not only had a high status, but he was also very arrogant. He looked coldly at everyone from the Eternal Night Palace and said, "Trash will always be trash, unable to be compared to a proper team. Perhaps they were a little stronger than the trash from the Xueyang Palace. However, if he went to the Mystic Realm, he would still die. I really don't understand why Xueyu sent those pieces of trash. 10 people from our Ice Imperial Palace will be enough." Arrogant. Extremely arrogant. He was even more arrogant than Ling Xiao. After seeing Ling Xiao and the Lion Prince's strength, he was still so arrogant. It was enough to show how arrogant and confident Bing Xuanji was. Xue Wushuang was the princess of Xueyu. But that was only to the secular world. In the Blood Moon secret world, everyone knew that Bing Xuanji was the real young master. He was the one who would inherit Xueyu. He didn't have the title of Crown Prince, but he was the Crown Prince. Ling Xiao narrowed his eyes and glanced at Bing Xuanji. In terms of strength, this guy wasn't inferior to Gu Fenghua in the past. It was obvious that he was one of the top geniuses of Xueyu. None of the 10 people from the Ice Imperial Palace were weak. Even the weakest one was stronger than Xingyi. No wonder they were called the Ice Imperial Palace. No wonder they were the strongest palace in Xueyu. They really deserved their reputation. It would be great if I could join the Ice Imperial Palace. Unfortunately, with our strength, none of us have the qualifications to enter the top 10 of the Ice Royal Palace. If we join, we won't be able to go to the Mystic Realm, said Long Jianshan while looking at the 10 people from the Ice Imperial Palace with envy. He really hated the fact that he was a disciple of the Eternal Night Palace. He felt that it was a disgrace. If he became a disciple of the Ice Imperial Palace, who would dare disrespect him? Even though the 9 of you have been accepted by the Eternal Night Palace. But I, Bing Xuanji, will not treat you as a disciple of Xueyu. You are not qualified. Bing Xuanji seemed to think that he wasn't satisfied enough. He then looked at the people from the Eternal Night Palace who were in the limelight and said coldly, He was the first disciple of the Ice Imperial Palace, the first disciple of Shuiyu. He was also the future emperor. He was the real crown prince. Therefore, he didn't want anyone to surpass him. Lion Xiao Bao and Ling Xiao were in the limelight. Therefore, he had to suppress them. Especially you two. Where are you? You surprisingly dare to show your slight skill in front of an expert. When he was speaking, no one dared to interrupt. Even Shui Wuxuang dared to get angry in front of Xing Yi. But in front of Bing Xuanji, she didn't dare say anything. But Bing Xuanji seemed to have overestimated his strength. The others didn't say anything, but there was one person who didn't take him seriously at all. That was Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had even killed Gu Fenghua and the White Water Wolf. In the end, Bing Xuanji was still slightly inferior to the two of them. An ignorant young man is standing there and talking nonsense. Surprisingly, nobody dares to refute him. Are the disciples of Shuiyu so cowardly? What a disappointment! Ling Xiao's words finally left his mouth. Shut up! That's Bing Xuanji, do you want to die? Shui Wuxuang was furious and hastily scolded him. You should shut up! You are the representative of the Eternal Night Palace, and you are acting so humble in front of your peers. You are acting like a coward. Ridiculous! If you don't dare say anything, just shut your mouth and let me say it. Ling Xiao's words made Shui Wuxuang speechless. She felt extremely ashamed. Indeed, Bing Xuanji didn't dare kill people here. What was she afraid of? She didn't even dare to refute? In fact, it wasn't just her. The others looked at Ling Xiao with ridicule and disdain. Did he think he was a strong cultivator after winning Xing Yi? Impudent! You dare to be disrespectful to Brother Xuanji, you are courting death! Bing Xuanji didn't say anything. A cultivator with 3 eyes beside him was furious. That third eye emitted a strange light that covered Ling Xiao's body. At that moment, Ling Xiao felt that his surroundings had changed. It was as if he had stepped into an illusion. His surroundings were no longer a palace, but a terrifying battlefield. Countless vengeful spirits came to take his life. Ridiculous illusion, it seems like you don't want that eye of yours anymore. It was the first time Ling Xiao had encountered someone who dared to use an illusion on him. Chapter 39:26. Ah! The 3-eyed man suddenly screamed, and his third eye began to bleed. His face turned deathly pale. Ling Xiao stood there and smiled coldly. What? Everybody was astonished when they saw San Yan's condition. San Yan was one of the strongest cultivators in the Ice Imperial Palace. His soul and his third eye made him extremely strong. Even a cultivator of the same cultivation level as him would have a hard time dealing with him. But Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of him at all. Instead, it caused 3-eye to suffer a backlash. Bing Xianji looked at Ling Xiao coldly and said, You dare hurt San Yan? Do you want to die? What a joke! He can hurt me with an illusion, why can't I hurt him? According to your logic, I should be bullied by him? Said Ling Xiao disdainfully. You want to kill me? Let's see how you're going to kill me here. He looked at Bing Xianji. He didn't look like he was going to give in. He was extremely strong. Bing Xianji looked at Ling Xiao. He had never seen such an arrogant cultivator in Shuiyu. He had thought that he was arrogant enough, he hadn't thought that someone would be even more arrogant than him. This was really interesting. San Yan, how are you? He suddenly retracted his gaze and looked at 3-eyed beside him. My third eye is injured. I'm afraid I can't use it for the time being. San Yan sighed and said, It's all my fault. I underestimated him. How is he? Asked Bing Xianji. He's very strong. His soul is extremely strong. He's not easy to deal with, replied San Yan in a low voice. No wonder his cultivation is so weak. Everything makes sense now, said Bing Xianji, nodding. Then, he looked at Ling Xiao and said, I hope that you can use your strength to fight for the glory of Shuiyu. Don't always think about plotting against your fellow disciples. I should be the one saying that to you, said Ling Xiao indifferently. Hee hee. Bing Xianji smiled and didn't reply to Ling Xiao. Instead, he took out a pill and gave it to San Yen. San Yen quickly took it. It could be seen that 3i was still a very important existence in his heart. However, this action of his left the others in a daze. The dignified Bing Xuanji was extremely overbearing. How could he let that brat off so easily? However, that was exactly what Bing Xuanji had done. This forced people to once again take Ling Xiao's existence seriously. In fact, Bing Xuanji also wanted to kill Ling Xiao. However, this was the Blood Moon's secret world. If they killed their own people here, they would definitely be held accountable. Shuiyu was different from other influential groups. At the very least, it was fair on the surface. Even if he had already been selected as the crown prince, he would still have to accept the harshest punishment. Otherwise, he would not be able to convince the masses. This was not the first time the Wolf General had attended such a gathering. But every time, what he saw was the people of the Eternal Night Palace being bullied. But he couldn't interfere. Every time, he would leave in frustration. But this time, it was different. Ling Xiao, Lion Master Bao, Dark Frost, Shui Wushuang, and the others. This made the current Eternal Night Palace much stronger than before. Apart from the Ice Imperial Palace, their strength might not lose to the other 10 palaces. How gratifying! Of course, the most important thing was Ling Xiao. With the guidance of the 3 great kings, he was probably even stronger than when he had first met him. He really wanted to know what kind of exciting results he would get from this trip to the secret realm. Young people these days are really lively. At that moment, a middle-aged man slowly arrived. He smiled and sat on the throne in the middle. He was the leader of the Ice Imperial Palace, and also the king of Shuiyu. He was Shui Wushuang's father, Shui Mantian. Shui Mantian looked very ordinary, and almost didn't release any majestic qi. But this kind of person was even more terrifying. He completely restrained all his qi, as if he had completely disappeared. "Greetings, King!" Everyone bowed and saluted. "Yes, the elites of the 12 palaces are all here. You 120 people will become the hope of Shuiyu in the future. I only have 2 requirements here. First, come back alive from the mysterious world. Second, don't kill each other. It's understandable for people of the same sect to fight and compete with each other. I won't stop you. But if you kill each other in external activities, then don't blame me for being impolite. I must remind you that the journey to the mysterious world is definitely not as easy as you think. There are a total of 300 countries in the Western Kingdom. Each country will send more or less cultivators. Those who come are all elites and geniuses. Their strength may not lose to yours. If you fight among yourselves, then in the end, it will only let others take advantage of you. Do you all understand?" "Understood," everyone responded in a loud and clear voice. But whether these words were taken to heart, no one knew. Maybe it was just a superficial response. After all, from the scene just now, the relationship between the 12 palaces of Shuiyu was not very harmonious. Well, I won't say much. Remember the 2 points I just mentioned and get ready to go. Shui Mantian took a deep breath. Because he would not follow, he could not predict what would happen in the mysterious world. He could only do his best to let these people come back alive. If Ling Xiao had not experienced too many things, he might have felt excited about this scene. But unfortunately, he had experienced too much. He had seen too much. He was already numb. The only thing in his mind now was to be able to get the beast god's blood in the mysterious world. And to do something for the Eternal Night Palace. Compared to Shuiyu country, he had a stronger sense of belonging to the Eternal Night Palace. After all, in the Eternal Night Palace, he received some help from people who were really good to him. And the others seemed a little excited. The journey to the mysterious world had been prepared for a long time. In fact, as early as a year ago, the news of the selection had been announced to the whole country. This time, the people who came to participate in the selection began preparing a year ago. And the rest of the people of the 11 palaces were even more so. Now, they were finally going to set off. Everyone was very excited. The mysterious world was dangerous and full of opportunities. You may encounter the threat of death, but you may also change your destiny and soar to the sky. This was the biggest attraction of the mysterious world. Although some people were a little worried before they set off, even a little scared. But this could not stop them from moving forward. Since they had chosen to become a warrior, it was impossible to live a leisurely life. If you were not willing to take risks, unwilling to fight, in the end, you would be eliminated by the tide. You would completely become a waste in the eyes of others. Go outside! Shui Man Tian led 120 people outside. There stood 12 martial artists clad in silver armor. They would be the leaders this time. They led 12 teams respectively. Beside every silver-armored martial artist, there was a gigantic demonic beast, Frost Wyvern. This was a kind of demon beast with dragon blood. It was very strong, and its flying speed was very fast. Each of them could ride dozens of people. Chapter 39:27. 12 palaces, let's go! Shui Man Tian gave the order. The 120 young warriors followed their leader and stepped onto the body of the ice-snow flying dragon. These leaders were the leaders, they were also the ones in charge of riding the snowy dragons. Bang! Sounds of wings flapping could be heard. 12 snowy dragons went through the portal and flew out of the Shuiyu secret realm, heading towards the secret realm. Ling Xiao looked at the silver-armored man. He wasn't too strong, he was only at the early 7th Divine Core realm, similar to General Lang. But there were 12 of them. This was frightening. The Shuiyu kingdom was really frightening. Not only did the silver-armored man's armor have a defensive effect, it could also hide his aura and his cultivation level. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's Tai Chi eye, he wouldn't have been able to see their true cultivation level. Sit tight, we're going to speed up. Bang! When the snowy dragons sped up, everyone felt like they were almost thrown off. Darkfrost's body was small, so her grip wasn't firm enough. Right at this moment, one of the men on the snowy dragons made a small movement. A sword beam shot out from his hand and pierced towards Darkfrost's hand that was holding onto the feather. Although it couldn't hurt Darkfrost, it still hurt her. Darkfrost subconsciously let go of the feather because of the pain. Her body was instantly blown away by the strong wind. Darkfrost! Seeing this, Ling Xiao didn't hesitate, he immediately jumped up and transformed into the everlasting heavenly rat. He flew towards Darkfrost. He caught Darkfrost at the critical moment. He caught her. Useless, you can't believe you were thrown off like this, Long Jianshan said in a mocking tone. This caused Ling Xiao, who was already in a fit of anger, to become even more furious. A cold light was flickering in his eyes. What did you just say? And what did you do just now? I just said something, why are you so angry? Perhaps it was because of the silver-armored man, Long Jianshan was quite daring. Ling Xiao, since everything is fine, let's just forget about it. We're all from the Eternal Night Palace. Shui Wuxuang came out to be the peacemaker. She probably felt that her relationship with Ling Xiao had improved, so her words should be effective. But Ling Xiao didn't even look at Shui Wuxuang, and he said coldly, It's best if you shut your mouth. Otherwise, do you believe that I will throw you down from here? Shui Wuxuang was dumbfounded. His expression became extremely ugly. She realized what she had done wrong. To Ling Xiao, a friend like Darkfrost, or even a little sister, was extremely important. Dragon Sword Mountain dared to plot against Darkfrost, and even spoke rudely. Ling Xiao already had a strong killing intent. If not for his fear of the silver-armored martial artist, he would have already destroyed Dragon Sword Mountain. However, even with the existence of the silver-armored martial warriors, it was impossible for him to let Dragon Sword Mountain off so easily. With a sneer, he suddenly appeared in front of Long Jianshan in a flash and sent him flying with a kick. Long Jianshan was sent flying with a kick. No one would have thought that Ling Xiao would actually do such a thing. The silver-armored martial artist tried to control the ice-snow dragon to catch Long Jianshan, but was stopped by Ling Xiao. Is the secret realm more important, or is a piece of trash more important? You should know in your heart, right? The silver-armored martial artist was stunned for a moment. Then, he sighed. In any case, with Long Jianshan's strength, he shouldn't die from falling from here. At most, he would suffer a little and go a little later. Therefore, he didn't do anything else. The ice snow dragon continued to fly forward. Ling Xiao, I'm going to kill you! I'll definitely kill you! Long Jianshan's angry roar resounded in the wind. Since the Eternal Night Palace doesn't want you, why don't you come with us? Suddenly, another ice snow dragon flew over. It caught Long Jianshan. It was the Snow Sun Palace's ice snow dragon. The one who spoke was Starry Night. The Snow Sun Palace hated Ling Xiao to the bone. As long as it was Ling Xiao's enemy, it was their friend. Furthermore, Long Jianshan's strength didn't seem weak. He could definitely be a great help to them. It wouldn't be a pity if he died. After all, he wasn't one of them. All right. Long Jianshan agreed without hesitation. To him, this was an extremely good opportunity. Not only him, the 12 ice snow dragons flew for 3 days and 3 nights before they finally arrived at the secret realm. During the entire journey, Ling Xiao had to face the strong wind and cultivate. When he arrived at the secret realm, his cultivation had broken through to the late 3rd Heavenly Divine Core realm. Although it was just a small improvement, it was still something worth celebrating. Outside the secret realm, a large number of martial artists had gathered. For Ling Xiao, these were all unfamiliar faces. Many of them were strong, but his goal hadn't changed. What he wanted was the beast god's blood. Whoever dared to stop him, he would kill them. He didn't care who they were. There's still half an hour before the secret realm opens. Everyone, please wait for a moment. A secret realm like this wasn't something that could be opened by human strength. Therefore, even though all the martial artists from the 300 great kingdoms had arrived, they could only wait. While waiting, the silver-armored warrior explained the general situation of the secret realm to them. This secret realm was a little special. Only martial artists under the age of 25 were allowed to enter. There was once a martial artist over the age of 25 who tried to enter, but he was killed by the terrifying formation around the secret realm. After hearing the explanation, Ling Xiao finally understood why all the martial artists from the Shuiyu Empire were below the age of 25. Some secret realms were specially prepared for young martial artists. The powerful martial artists of the past didn't have a good disciple. In order to pass on their legacy to someone who was qualified, they set up a formation. It was a formation like this. It seemed like they had put a lot of thought into this. Half an hour passed by quickly. Terrifying thunder rumbled. Bolts of lightning struck down from the sky and crashed onto the ground. It felt like the sky was about to collapse. Behind that gorgeous lightning curtain was a vast and majestic palace. It was even more magnificent than the palace left behind by the ancient Dongxing Emperor. And it was in perfect condition. This meant that the formation used in the palace was extremely powerful. The technique used to construct it was very mature. Especially when they saw the dazzling lights shooting out from the palace, it made them want to give it a try. Swoosh! Suddenly, a figure dashed out from the crowd. He looked like he was over 25 years old. And he was very strong. All the treasures in this secret realm are mine! Although the man had heard that martial artists above the age of 25 weren't allowed to enter the secret realm, he didn't take it seriously. Seeing this, many of the great warriors didn't stop him. Instead, they were sneering in their minds. If no martial artists above the age of 25 were allowed to enter the secret realm, they would have done so long ago. Why would they wait until now? Bang! When the man approached the electric net, he was instantly burned into ashes. He was a peak 7th Divine Core warrior. But he was killed just like that. Seeing this, many of the guys who were eager to try gave up on the idea. There were also some who hid their age and pretended to be below 25 years old. They were so scared that they immediately backed out. Chapter 39-28. Although it was said that as long as one was under the age of 25, one could enter. However, because that person had died too miserably, many people still hesitated. "Let's go!" Seeing that no one was going in, Ling Xiao called out to Liu Xiaobao, Dark Frost, and Yang Mo, and rushed in first. His Tai Chi could distinguish whether the lightning array was dangerous or not. Liu Xiaobao, Dark Frost, and Yang Mo trusted him very much. Therefore, they did not hesitate and rushed in with him. When they passed through the electric fence, it felt as if the electric fence had suddenly disappeared. There was no harm done. Seeing this scene, the others dared to enter the secret realm. Greed and desire replaced fear in the end. The secret realm was a majestic palace. As soon as Ling Xiao, Liu Xiaobao, Dark Frost, and Yang Mo stepped in, a large number of martial artists rushed in. However, this had nothing to do with them. As long as there was no conflict, they would not take the initiative to attack others. "It's actually sword mountain grass, and there's more than one." Ling Xiao's Tai Chi saw that there were more than a dozen sword mountain grass in the open space in front of him. Moreover, the age of each of them was better than the ones they had obtained in the Snow Moon's secret realm. "The worst is a 3,000-year-old sword mountain grass. This is great." The four of them rushed forward and hurriedly picked the sword mountain grass. They were the first to enter, so they naturally had the upper hand. "Kid, put down the sword mountain grass, or I'll kill you!" Suddenly, a violent aura pounced on Ling Xiao from behind. The reason why this person chose Ling Xiao and not Liu Xiaobao, Yang Mo, or Dark Frost was naturally because Ling Xiao's apparent strength was the weakest. A persimmon must be picked on the weak. "Brother Ling Xiao, be careful!" Dark Frost hurriedly reminded. However, Ling Xiao did not seem to see the attacker behind him and continued to pick the sword mountain grass. These good things would definitely help his strength increase again. Moreover, he naturally knew the strength of the person behind him. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded, and the punch landed solidly on Ling Gao's head. The attacker revealed a sinister sneer. The others also took pleasure in his misfortune. A few pieces of trash actually dared to snatch the treasure? Weren't they courting death? However, at this moment, everyone's smiles suddenly froze. Ling Xiao's head not only did not explode, but it was also not smashed. It was absolutely intact. Not only that, but Ling Xiao had also finished harvesting the sword mountain grass. Suddenly, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed the throat of his attacker. A hint of disdain appeared on his cold face. Die! He didn't give the other party a chance to beg for mercy. Ling Xiao mercilessly crushed his opponent's throat before crushing his inner core. He absorbed the energy within. This was a peak 5th Divine Core warrior. The power of the Niden was still very abundant, but it was converted into the energy of Ling Xiao's cultivation C. Ling Xiao still couldn't break through instantly. However, Ling Xiao didn't care. There were more than 10,000 people entering the secret realm this time. He was definitely not the only one courting death. He had plenty of ways to improve his cultivation. When the crowd saw what happened, they were all terrified. This man wasn't as weak as he looked. Also, this was too cruel. He killed without any hesitation, showing no mercy at all. This was exactly the effect Ling Xiao wanted. He wanted to intimidate those who wanted to make a move on him. If too many people came looking for trouble, he wouldn't have time to get the treasure. "Let's go!" Ling Xiao didn't stay where he was. More and more people were entering the secret realm, and he didn't know if there would be some who were not afraid of death. Since he had already harvested the sword mountain grass, there was no need to waste any more time. He started walking forward. The other 3 men followed behind him. "Follow my footsteps," Ling Xiao suddenly reminded them. He found a trap in front of him. He could see it with his Tai Chi eye, but the others couldn't. But he just needed to protect his own people. As for the others, he didn't care. The 3 men had just passed through the trap area. Suddenly, a miserable scream sounded out from behind them. A man's body was covered in a strange white flame, and he was burned to death on the spot. Even his inner core couldn't escape. "This place is really scary. Although we found so many sword mountain grass as soon as we came in, it's still very dangerous. If it weren't for Brother Ling Xiao, I'm afraid I would have died. Yang Emo sighed when he saw the people behind him trembling and not daring to move forward. In the secret realm, danger and opportunity usually coexist. It's nothing strange. In fact, I hope there's more danger, so that I can get more benefits, Ling Xiao said with a smile. Wait a minute! Suddenly, he stopped and looked at the murals on the walls on both sides and frowned. These murals are a bit strange, Lion Xiaobao also said. They don't seem to be painted directly. Instead, they seem to be created by some special means. Every painting and every line seems to be exuding a strange power. Although I don't understand formations, this should be related to formations, right? Yes, it is related to formations, but it's too complicated. It's almost impossible to crack it in a short time. Ling Xiao was a formation master, so he could naturally tell. Oh no! Right at this moment, out of curiosity, Yang Emo touched the wall. He felt like he was going to be sucked into the murals. His body was starting to become blurry. He cried out in alarm. Ling Xiao quickly walked up to him and cut off his right hand. For a divine core warrior, cutting off a limb wasn't a big deal, it could be recovered. But if a human was sucked into the murals, it would be troublesome. When his right hand was cut off, it actually merged with the murals, and intertwined with the murals. That was close. It's all thanks to Brother Ling Xiao, or else I would have become one of the murals on the wall. Yang Mo's face turned pale with fright. Hurry up and eat this healing pill. Heal your right hand as soon as possible, only then will we have the confidence to fight. Ling Xiao gave Yang Emo a healing pill. Yang Emo stared at the murals on the wall with fear lingering in his heart. There weren't many murals, there were only 9 of them. But every single one of them gave people a terrifying feeling. From now on, don't touch these murals. It's too strange, even my Tai Chi can't detect the danger of these murals, Ling Xiao reminded. Right at this moment, some people had passed through the trap. After all, Ling Xiao wasn't the only one who knew how to use an eye skill, and Ling Xiao wasn't the only one who knew how to use mechanisms. But when these people arrived, they didn't attack Ling Xiao. They could still clearly remember what happened just now. If they attacked Ling Xiao, they would have to bear a very serious consequence, and they might even die. Some people rushed forward in front of Ling Xiao and the others. But some people were staring at the murals like Ling Xiao. I advise you not to touch those murals. Seeing that some people from the Eternal Night Palace wanted to touch the murals, Ling Xiao reminded them. After all, they were from the same sect. Chapter 39-29. After being reminded by Ling Xiao, the men from the Eternal Night Palace stopped. However, one of the warriors from the Snow Sun Palace sneered. Don't tell me you found some treasure and want to take it for yourself? Since you don't want me to touch it, I'm going to touch it. He stretched out his hand and touched the mural. Ling Xiao didn't stop him. Since someone was courting death, why should he care about it? When the man touched the mural, he fell into the same state as Yang Emo. But too bad, he wasn't as lucky as Yang Emo. All the men from the Snow Sun Palace stayed far away from him. No one came to save him. But in the next moment, he was sucked into the mural. He became the nutrients for the mural. This is terrifying! The scene scared everyone, causing them to quickly move away from the wall. Many of the men who wanted to check out the mural had left as well. This damn place was too dangerous. Idiots, I told you not to touch it, but you're courting death, Yang Emo said angrily. That's enough, Yang Emo, let's ignore them. Ling Xiao told Yang Emo using his divine sense. These 9 murals are a bit strange, why don't we use a special method to carve them down? They might be useful. He believed these murals weren't some simple traps. Besides, even if they were traps, they were still worth studying. If such a powerful trap was used in a fight, it would definitely be a great help. Agreed! Darkfrost nodded her head, then she told the other 3 through her divine sense. I can also feel a powerful soul energy hidden in these murals. We just need to carve them down in our soul realms. Perhaps they really are some good stuff. Both Lion Master Castle and Yang Emo agreed. As long as they didn't touch them, they wouldn't be in any danger. Although it was a bit difficult to carve something down in their soul realms, it wasn't a problem for divine core warriors like them. Therefore, the four men started moving at the same time. After a brief moment, Ling Xiao revealed a surprised expression. What a terrifying mural! It feels like it's fighting against my soul. I just can't carve it down in my soul realms. That's right, it's really strange. Same for me, not only can I carve it down, when I touched it, I felt like my soul was being sucked into it. It's so dangerous, Yang Emo said. The situation in Lion Master Castle was basically the same. Dark Frost was a little better. Although she didn't remember, she wasn't in any danger. However, this matter still caused them to be extremely shocked. A divine core warrior's soul was much stronger than an ordinary warrior's. He was actually unable to remember these murals. This matter was too inconceivable. Brother Lion, Yang Emo, the two of you should give up. Stand guard for me and Dark Frost. Ling Xiao thought of a possibility. This mural might have been prepared for soul martial artists. Although he and Dark Frost did not remember it, that was because their souls were not focused. After all, he had to constantly be aware of the dangers around him. Everyone around them, except for the few of them, could be the enemy. All right. Liu Xiaobao and Yang Emo nodded and approached Ling Xiao and Dark Frost to protect them. Following which, Ling Xiao and Dark Frost began their engraving again. Ling Xiao immediately activated his Tai Chi Eye. Then, he focused on the output of soul power. His soul power was attached to the mural. Clear patterns began to emerge in his soul. He felt a slight stabbing pain, as if someone was drawing on his soul with a knife. It was an uncomfortable feeling. But he endured it. He had experienced this kind of pain before. It was nothing serious. First mural, complete! Finally, he succeeded. The first mural had been engraved in his soul. Although he still couldn't understand what it was used for, he knew it was not something simple. Second mural, complete! Every time he engraved a mural, the pain would get worse. He felt like his soul was about to shatter. But he gritted his teeth and persevered. The more difficult something is, the more meaningful it is. Once I complete it, I will gain a lot. Ling Xiao firmly believed in this point. Liu Xiaobao and Yang Emo, who were standing guard for Ling Xiao, were shocked. Right now, they could feel the terrifying soul power unleashed by Ling Xiao and Dark Frost. It was terrifying. Big brother Ling Xiao isn't a soul race being, is he? His soul power is stronger than Dark Frost's. Yang Emo was surprised. But he didn't say anything. After all, he was acting as a protector and couldn't be distracted. Third mural, complete! His soul power was being consumed crazily like a torrent. He believed that these murals were definitely carved by ancient experts. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to be so powerful. Fourth mural, complete! The pressure was getting greater and greater, but Ling Xiao was still persevering. On the other side, Dark Frost had already given up. She had only engraved 4 murals, and her soul power had almost been completely exhausted. She couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. She hurriedly consumed a soul-stabilizing pill. Big brother Ling Xiao is indeed powerful. She sat cross-legged to recover. As a soul martial artist, soul power was very important. If she didn't recover, fighting would be a problem. At this moment, the people from Xiuyang Palace walked over. Among them, there was a guy they were very familiar with, Dragon Sword Mountain. Stop, what do you want? Liu Xiaobao asked coldly. Only you are allowed to stay here, others can't? Dragon Sword Mountain said disdainfully. You guys look at your things, we look at ours, we don't interfere with each other. Although he said this, he suddenly flew up and kicked Ling Xiao's back. Because Ling Xiao was completely focused on engraving the murals, he didn't have any defense at all. After being kicked, his entire body crashed into the mural and was gradually sucked in. Run! After doing this, Dragon Sword Mountain knew that there would be trouble, so he hurriedly turned around and fled. The others from Xiuyang Palace also followed. They knew very well that they weren't a match for Liu Xiaobao, so they wouldn't stay here and wait for death. Big brother Ling Xiao! Darkfrost cried out in alarm and was about to pounce over, but she was firmly held back by Liu Xiaobao. It's useless. At this time, Ling Xiao had completely merged into the mural and completely disappeared. It was impossible to save him. I want to kill that Dragon Sword Mountain! Darkfrost's expression was extremely ugly. Yes, avenge big brother Ling Xiao! Yang Mo gritted his teeth and said. Even if you don't say it, I won't let that guy go. Dragon Sword Mountain! Liu Xiaobao's nature was pure, so he didn't expect that Dragon Sword Mountain would attack Ling Xiao. That was why the situation just now happened. At this time, he was blaming himself. A burst of evil chi suddenly erupted. Not only will I kill Dragon Sword Mountain, I will make everyone from Xiuyang Palace die with Ling Xiao. Let's go! Liu Xiaobao raised his foot and chased after him. Dark Frost and Yang Mo also followed. They all thought that Ling Xiao was dead and swore to avenge Ling Xiao. When they came here, the king of Xiuyang country warned everyone not to kill each other. But now that Dragon Sword Mountain had made the first move, then they couldn't be blamed. At this time, most of the cultivators who came in had already reached a wider area. That's right, he actually dared to offend Brother Xianji, he deserved to die. Everyone else nodded in agreement. All right, Three-Eyed crippled their cultivation. After all, the king said that we can't kill each other. Bing Xuanji said indifferently. It was as if he was detached from worldly affairs. But everyone knew that crippling their cultivation here was more cruel than killing them directly. Once they lost their cultivation, not only would they not be able to get anything, but they would also be bullied by everyone. Understood. The three-eyed man appeared in front of Dark Frost and Yang Mo and sneered. You can only blame yourselves for being so dazzling. Stop! Yiling Yin, who had been watching coldly from the sidelines, finally stood up. What, you also want to go with them? The three-eyed man said coldly. After all, they are my Eternal Night Palace's people. Even if you want to punish them, you have to go back to Shuiyu country. You shouldn't use lynchings. Yiling Yin instantly transformed into a beast spirit, and was obviously ready to attack. Relying on you? Do you think you can stop me? The three-eyed man said disdainfully. Fuck off! Suddenly, the three-eyed man roared and a terrifying strength shot out from his third eye. Even though Yiling Yin was strong, her advantage was not in frontal combat. If it were any other time, she would definitely have dodged this attack. But today, Dark Frost and Yang Mo were behind her, so she could only face the attack head-on. As a result, she was sent flying by the three-eyed man's attack. Become a piece of trash for me! The three-eyed man ignored Yiling Yin and attacked Yang Mo and Dark Frost's Dantian with his hands. Everyone looked at the teleportation array, wanting to be the first to pass through. At this time, Ling Xiao was feeding Dark Frost and Yang Mo healing pills. Big brother Ling Xiao, give her one too. Dark Frost looked at Yiling Yin. I don't need it. Yiling Yin was very aloof. Take it. Ling Xiao flicked his finger, and a healing pill flew through the air. Yiling Yin caught it in the end. She knew how important it was to keep her body intact in this place. I will repay this favor. Ling Xiao was a person who knew how to repay kindness. Under such circumstances, he was very grateful that Yiling Yin was willing to help. This teleportation array can only accommodate about 1,000 people at a time. There will always be people who have to go first and people who have to go later. No one knows what's behind the teleportation array. Because of this, people will start to attack each other. I'm afraid it's not worth it. Bing Xuanji said coldly. Everyone thought about it and agreed. There were more than 10,000 people here. It was almost impossible to teleport all of them in at once. They could only do it in batches. Does anyone want to be the first to try? Bing Xuanji asked. Everyone was hesitant. They had just entered and they had already encountered a lot of trouble. Many of them had died. They didn't know whether it was a good thing or a bad thing to enter the teleportation array. Since you're all worried, Shuiyu will be the vanguard, Bing Xuanji suggested. Why? No! People were like that. They were afraid and didn't dare to go, but they were worried that others would steal the treasures. It was extremely contradictory. Let them go first. They have a total of 100 people, 800 more can go. What's there to worry about? Besides, it's just a different order. Those who go in early may not necessarily get the benefits. Maybe they will die first, said a young man from the White Dragon country. He was about 18 years old. He was wearing white clothes and had a pair of dragon horns on his head. He obviously had the blood of the dragon clan. However, he wasn't a real dragon. His name was Ao Fei and he was the leader of the White Dragon country. He was on the same level as Bing Xuanji. His strength was terrifying. Just by standing there, he was already imposing without being angry. Not many people dared to offend him. I also agree, said another person. It was Feng Qianqian from the Wind Empress country. Feng Qianqian was wearing a yellow dress. She had a good figure but her face was covered by a veil. However, no one dared to offend her. Because she was strong enough. Standing there, she looked like a gust of wind that could blow at any time. She was the leader of the Wind Empress country. Since the two of them had spoken, the others didn't say anything. Bing Xuanji smiled and stepped into the portal. The rest of the people from the Shuiyu country also followed, including Ling Xiao, Lion Master Bao, Darkfrost, and Yang Mo. Brother Ling Xiao, what happened just now? You scared us to death. Weren't you sucked away by the murals on the wall? Ming Xuang asked telepathically. I was lucky. It wasn't me who sucked it away, I was the one who sucked it away. Ling Xiao had felt that he couldn't hold on for much longer when he reached the fifth mural. Who would have thought that the Dragon Sword Mountain would help him? In order to protect him, the Tyrant's Sky Martial Spirit directly absorbed the mural. It was just that this process took a little longer, otherwise he would have rushed over at a much faster speed. It's a blessing in disguise. Lion Master Bao smiled bitterly. Although it's a blessing in disguise, the Dragon Sword Mountain's intention to kill me has not changed. This person had to be killed. None of the people from the Snow Sun Palace can be left alive. Ling Xiao was really angry. Those people from the Snow Sun Palace actually wanted to kill his friends when he wasn't there. If he did not annihilate this group of trash, how could he vent the anger in his heart? If he couldn't vent his anger, it would be troublesome for his future cultivation. If he couldn't vent his anger, there would definitely be problems. But now that Bing Xuanji was protecting the people from the Snow Sun Palace, he couldn't do anything. But he believed that there would be opportunities. As long as he wanted to scheme against someone, he wouldn't be afraid of not finding an opportunity to kill them. While he was thinking about this, 1,000 people had already gathered on the portal. Chapter 39-32. The extra people were directly thrown out. When the number of people reached exactly 1,000, the teleportation portal shone with light. 1,000 people disappeared from the hall at the same time. When he reappeared, Ling Xiao looked around. The environment had indeed changed. It was different from before. Let's go and take a look around. The others didn't want to stay with the people of Shuiyu because they weren't as strong and couldn't get the treasures. Naturally, they chose to leave early. What made everyone feel strange was that after waiting for more than 10 minutes, no one else came in. Could it be that the teleportation portal can only be used once? Lion Xiaobao asked curiously. It shouldn't be. I suspect that this teleportation portal will send people to different places each time. Although they are all in the same small world, the locations are different. Ling Xiao analyzed. That's possible. The others nodded one after another, thinking that this was the most reliable answer. Prince Xuanji, it seems that only the people of Shuiyu are left. Shouldn't we solve the internal problems first? Suddenly Yuan Hai spoke. If Ling Xiao didn't die, he couldn't be at ease. That's right, Prince Xuanji. This Ling Xiao actually dared to kill people of the Ice Palace. He'll easily ruin our plan. Dragon Sword Mountain also said. Killing him will be good for us. Starry Night agreed. The people of the Ice Palace and Snow Sun Palace all agreed. As for the people from the other 10 palaces, they didn't want to get involved and just let it go. Bing Xuanji looked at Ling Xiao, his eyes cold. Ling Xiao, take your people and leave. He didn't have absolute confidence in killing Ling Xiao, so he didn't want to act casually. After all, there were still treasures to be fought over. It wasn't wise to waste energy on killing each other. Leaving is not a problem, but some people must die. Ling Xiao didn't want to act with these people. The so-called unity was just a bunch of bullshit. Shui Mantian wasn't here. Who cared about what he said? If he cared, he wouldn't have been ambushed by Dragon Sword Mountain. You've heard it, Prince Xuanji. This guy has been harboring evil intentions from the beginning. Who knew if he was a spy from another force? After all, he joined Shuiyu temporarily. Yuan Hai shouted. Indeed, from the beginning, I thought it was strange. He's not weak, there's no need for him to join Shuiyu. Back in the Blood Moon secret realm, his acting was rather convincing. But here, his true colors were revealed all at once. He said that Dragon Sword Mountain had plotted against him, but was he dead? The ones who died were all from the Xueyang Palace and the Ice Imperial Palace. Starry Night said indifferently. Prince Xuanji is wise and far-sighted, you should be able to see it too. These people are simply using us to seize the treasures. Shuiyu is nothing in their eyes. Prince Arcana, I also think that Starry Night's words make sense. Apart from the Eternal Night Palace, the members of the 11 palaces all grew up in Shuiyu. We're on the same side. In the Eternal Night Palace, other than Shui Wushuang, everyone else joined at the last minute. He couldn't be considered one of them at all. Dragon Sword Mountain and Ghost Valley 3 devils are still fine. They do not intend to destroy the unity and friendship between us. However, it was different for the others. They tried to stir up trouble, slandered us, and even slaughtered our people. They're already enemies. The king said that we must be united and not kill each other, but he also said that we must unite against outsiders. These guys are our enemies. Another person in the Ice Imperial Palace advised. This person was called Xiahou Mu, and he had a very good relationship with Three-Eyed. Three-Eyed had been killed by Ling Xiao, and Xiahou Mu had always held a grudge in his heart. At this time, he naturally wanted to add insult to injury. Yes, Prince Xuanji, kill them, and the next operation will be safer. Another person in the Ice Imperial Palace said. Hearing this, Shui Wushuang frowned. Although she did not like Ling Xiao. If Ling Xiao and the others were really killed, the Eternal Night Palace would be completely finished. However, she did not dare to say anything. Because she was also afraid of death. Now that Ling Xiao was the target of public criticism, she did not dare to speak at all. I really admire your group of people. Such shameless words can actually be said in such a dignified manner. It seems that my choice was right. Being on the same side as you is really shameful. Yi Lingyan was still a little hesitant. In the end, she had to follow Ling Xiao to the end. Or choose not to help either side. But after listening to Xiahou Mu and the others, she had already made a decision. Even if Ling Xiao was bloodthirsty, he would not make a move against his own people. And those shameless people, who knew if they would sneak attack them? Well said, a group of bastards, you don't even take the words of the king of Shuiyu seriously. If you want to fight, then fight, don't talk nonsense. It makes people feel disgusted. Lion Master Bao said disdainfully. Bullshit. You're saying that others sneak attacked you? Who saw it? Isn't it just you talking nonsense? On the other hand, you sneak attacked Dragon Sword Mountain, everyone here saw it. You even killed Three-Eyed, who tried to calm the chaos, and now you're still pretending to be innocent? Yuan Hai cursed. Lion Master Bao wanted to say something, but Ling Xiao stopped him. What is there to talk about with them? In this world, there is no reason to talk. Whoever has the hardest fist is the reason. Whoever can return to Shuiyu alive from the mysterious world is the reason. Dragon Sword Mountain, Yuan Hai, and Starry Night must be killed. If anyone dares to stop us today, we will kill them together. Ling Xiao had seen many such shameless people, so from the beginning, he had not planned to reason with them. Talking reason with such people would only make you angry. TSK, everyone saw it, this is his nature. From the beginning, he wanted to find an excuse to kill us one by one. If we don't do it now, we won't have such a good opportunity later. For Shui Yu, for our supreme glory. We can't let these rats ruin our delicious food. Xiaomu's impassioned speech was filled with righteousness, as if he were the spokesperson of justice. However, in Ling Xiao's ears, these words were similar to the barking of a dog. Let's do it, kill whoever dares to stop us. Ling Xiao stared at Bing Xianji and ordered Lion Master Bao to attack. Lion Master Bao nodded and his earth spirit appeared behind his back. His whole body was surging with the power of desolation. He suddenly stomped on the ground. The ground cracked into several pieces because of this. Dragon Sword Mountain, you will be the first to die. You dared to sneak attack my friends, I will destroy you. Lion Master Bao knew that Ling Xiao wanted to kill Dragon Sword Mountain the most. If Dragon Sword Mountain did not die, Ling Xiao would not be able to forgive him. Everyone, as you can see, these people have already become angry out of humiliation. Go back and be witnesses. We didn't start a civil war. They are the ones with ulterior motives. At the same time, two people from Shuiyang Palace rose into the air and rushed towards Lion Master Bao. Chapter 39-33. The two men who attacked Master Lion Fort were both perfect fifth Divine Core warriors. None of them were Master Lion Fort's match. That was why they had to work together. Get lost! Right now, Master Lion Fort was furious. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao coming back in time, perhaps Dark Frost and Yang Mo would have been killed. Therefore, he was going to make them pay. Roar! A frightening roar sounded out. The Nine Spirits Lion's bloodline was unleashed. He punched both of them at the same time, and actually sent them flying. This guy is as scary as a wild beast. Let me help! Another two men flew up into the sky from Shuiyang Palace. Just like the previous two men, they were both perfect fifth Divine Core warriors. 4 men worked together and surrounded Master Lion Fort. There were only 6 men left from Shuiyang Palace. Only Xing Yi and Yuan Hai hadn't joined the fight yet. The other 4 men were facing Master Lion Fort. This proved how frightening Master Lion Fort was. Fine, let me fight to my heart's content today. Bloodline power, fully awaken. Master Lion Fort knew these 4 men weren't easy to deal with. While roaring furiously, his hair grew longer and longer. Like a golden waterfall, his hair flowed down from his head to his feet. The muscles on his body became more developed as well. His eyes shone with a golden light. His body was covered with a golden energy. Bang! Not only were the 4 men unable to take him down, they were even pushed back. This guy, too bad he's with Ling Xiao. If not, he would have become a good tool for us. Bing Xuanji furrowed his brows. Master Lion Fort's strength was beyond his expectation. Even though he was fighting 4 men at once, he wasn't at a disadvantage. Instead, he was getting stronger and stronger. He was like a bloodline warrior from the immemorial era. I'll help as well! Seeing this, Yuan Hai flew up into the sky as well. He gathered a frightening amount of energy on his fist and punched towards Master Lion Fort. 5 men worked together, and all 5 of them were 5th Divine Core warriors. No matter how strong Master Lion Fort was, he was finally in a disadvantageous position. I've said it before, I'll kill whoever stands in my way. Since all of you want to die, don't blame me for being impolite. Yang Mo, go and help. Ling Xiao couldn't act rashly, because Bing Xuanji was staring at him. As long as he made a move, Bing Xuanji would definitely make a move. Fortunately, Lion Master Bao was fighting against 5 of them. Although he was at a disadvantage, he wouldn't be defeated easily. Yang Mo went up to help, and soon alleviated his disadvantage. The 2 of them regained their advantage. Dragon Sword Mountain, do you want to watch the show? Starry Night looked at Dragon Sword Mountain and said coldly, "I'll go help." Long Jianshan gritted his teeth. It was impossible for him to not make a move now. He could only brace himself and charge forward. In the end, he was stopped by Yilingyan halfway. "Yilingyan, do you also want to betray Shuiyu?" Starry Night coldly said. "What a serious crime. Are you fit to convict me? You're just a disciple of the Xiuyang Palace. I am a disciple of the Eternal Night Palace." Yilingyan sneered and charged towards Dragon Sword Mountain. After she transformed into a beast spirit, she could completely suppress Long Jianshan. Starry Night finally could no longer watch from the sidelines. He was also ready to make a move. However, he was stopped by Dark Frost. "Don't forget, there's still me." The Eternal Night Palace and the Xiuyang Palace could be said to have begun a true life and death battle. However, the other palaces were still watching. Ling Xiao looked at Shui Wuxuang and said, "As the representative of the Eternal Night Palace, are you just going to watch the show? No wonder the Eternal Night Palace has been unable to become stronger. Your own people have been bullied and humiliated. As a princess, you don't even dare to seek justice for them. You're simply a waste. This matter is clearly your fault. You've already killed so many people. Even if you let Dragon Sword Mountain and Yuan Hai go, so what?" Shui Wuxuang said angrily. Hee, you're still blaming me?" Ling Xiao shook his head lightly. "My impression of you has already changed a little, but the way you are now is really laughable and pitiful. Ghost Valley 3 demons, what have you decided to do?" Ling Xiao looked at the Ghost Valley 3 demons and asked. "We're not familiar with you, so we won't help either side," the leader of the Ghost Valley 3 demons said. "All right, I hope you won't regret it." Whether or not to help was indeed their own freedom. Ling Xiao would not force them. But Ling Xiao also had the freedom to help them. The Ghost Valley 3 demons didn't know that their words of not helping either side had caused them to lose a chance to be saved. "Yu Yi, aren't you going to help?" Starry Night also began to look for helpers. Yu Yi was the young leader of the Moon Demon Palace. At the same time, he was also his twin brother. The two of them chose to join different palaces in order to complement each other better. You really don't let people be at ease." Yu Yi sighed softly. "Traitors, everyone has the right to kill. People of the Moon Demon Palace, listen to my order, kill." The 10 people of the Moon Demon Palace jumped up at the same time and charged towards Lion Master Fort, Darkfrost, Yilingyan and Yang Mo. "Hee, you finally can't hold back anymore? But Yu Yi, it's fine if you attack alone, but you actually let the people of the Moon Demon Palace attack together. Do you know what this means? It means that you will kill all of them." Ling Xiao sneered and finally soared into the sky, blocking the 10 people of the Moon Demon Palace. "Prince Xuanji, should we attack?" Xiahou Mu asked. "What's the rush? Let's observe the situation first. When both sides are injured, it won't be too late for us to attack." Bing Xuanji secretly transmitted. "Prince Xuanji is wise." Xiahou Mu smiled and didn't say anything. In fact, Bing Xuanji was mainly not confident in defeating Ling Xiao. He just wanted to use the people of the Moon Demon Palace to see what Ling Xiao was capable of. Dragon Trapping Talisman. Ling Xiao still had a lot of talismans that he stole from Gu Fehua and the others. If he didn't use it now, when would he? Releasing the Dragon Trapping Talisman could guarantee that no more enemies would come. This was safer for them. "You think you can stop the 10 of us by yourself?" Yu Yi looked at Ling Xiao, her eyes cold. "Stop? No." Ling Xiao shook his head. "You will all die." He had already said that anyone who tried to stop him from killing Xingye, Long Jianshan, and Yuan Hai would die. These words had never changed. But there were always people who seemed to have forgotten what he had said and insisted on challenging his bottom line. Since that was the case, why should he be merciful? 10 swords, disperse. Ling Xiao coldly snorted, and 10 swords simultaneously flew out from his storage ring. 10 sword lights formed in front of him and attacked the 10 people of the Moon Demon Palace. In the past, controlling 10 swords at the same time was extremely difficult. But it was different now. After his sword intent reached the peak, these 10 swords were no different from a single sword in his eyes. His will and true essence could be released 10 at the same time to attack 10 enemies. This guy's sword intent has already reached the peak. How can this be? The surrounding people all had ugly expressions. Chapter 39-34. All the geniuses from Shuiyu were stunned by Ling Xiao's peak sword intent. This Ling Xiao was much stronger than they had imagined. Ling Xiao was much stronger than they had imagined. The peak sword intent was something that even a 7th Divine Core warrior might not be able to comprehend. When the sword intent was unleashed, all the people from the Moon Palace could feel a sharp pain coming from their bodies. Even their reactions were half a beat slower than usual. The sword intent was impacting their souls, causing them to become sluggish. Do you think we're easy to bully because we're not strong enough? I really don't understand. Where did you trash get your confidence from? A cold smile emerged on Ling Xiao's face. Purple flames ignited on the 10 swords. The complete level of fire intent. The surprise in Bing Xuanji's eyes became even stronger. Each of the swords had become extremely hot, and no one dared to approach them. Infernal Phoenix Beast Soul Transformation! In the next moment, Ling Xiao entered the Beast Soul Transformation state. The Infernal Phoenix Beast Soul Transformation could strengthen the will of fire. It could allow the complete level of the will of fire to erupt with the power of the peak will of fire. All of a sudden, the Moon Demon Palace cultivators stopped in their tracks. It was too terrifying. They had a feeling that if they continued moving forward, they would crash into those swords and become a dead soul under Ling Xiao's swords. Die! Finally, Ling Xiao was done with his preparations. 10 swords suddenly shot out. Together with the peak sword intent, the peak will of fire, and the peak will of Beast God, they charged towards the 10 men from the Moon Palace. Although most of them managed to block the attack, 2 of their throats were pierced through. However, there were still 2 people whose throats were pierced by 2 of the swords. Their bodies instantly burst into flames. The moment the blood flew up, it solidified and then became carbonized. They're dead? Everyone stared at the 2 men who were killed in horror. In the end, even their bodies couldn't be preserved, they were burned into charcoal by the scorching flames. Even their inner cores were completely melted, becoming the energy in Ling Xiao's body. Since you've provoked me, why should I be polite? Today, not only the Shiyang Palace, I'm going to kill all of you. Everyone from the Moon Demon Palace must die. Ling Xiao spat out a cold and stern voice. Once he made his move, he did not intend to show any mercy. Because Dragon Sword Mountain, Yuan Hai, and Starry Night were all examples. He had spared the lives of these people, but he had almost gotten himself killed. He didn't want to make the same mistake again. Therefore, these people had to die. The violent sword intent continued to bloom. The 10 swords had locked onto 8 people and were constantly attacking. Those from the Moon Demon Palace found it extremely difficult to defend against the 10 swords. However, at this moment, Ling Xiao moved. He turned into a crazy flame and rushed into the crowd. Die! He didn't use any martial skills, just an ordinary punch. How could the Moon Demon Palace cultivator, who was already under attack by the sword light, have the time to defend against his attack? A body that was equivalent to a spirit-grade Heavenly King weapon smashed onto the body of a 5th Divine Core warrior. The martial artist's body was directly smashed apart. Then, he was engulfed by the flames and burned. He screamed in terror. Death! This punch was like a prelude to a deadly attack. Every single warrior from the Moon Demon Palace was terrified. Every single warrior from the Shuiyu Kingdom had ugly expressions on their faces. Some of them started to regret their actions. Why did they provoke this crazy Ling Xiao? If they didn't provoke him, they might have been able to find some treasures. But now, they didn't even get to see any treasures, they were all killed by their own kind. Such a way of dying was too cowardly and meaningless. Tremble! Everyone from the Moon Demon Palace was trembling. Although Yu Yu was very strong, but right now, he had to face 4 swords at the same time. He was already having trouble dealing with them. As for the others, they had witnessed Ling Zhao's frightening close combat skills. At this moment, none of them had the heart to continue fighting. Prince Xianji, save us! Finally, someone cried out for help. It's useless, no one can save you today! Ling Xiao sneered. Another punch was thrown out. Another miserable shriek sounded out as another man was killed. So far, 4 people from the Moon Demon Palace had died in battle, leaving only 6. Ling Xiao, it's fine if you don't lose. I know you're furious, but these are the elites of the Shuiyu Kingdom. If you kill them, our strength will be greatly reduced. Enough! Shui Wuxuan shouted from outside. Shut your mouth, idiot woman! If you keep talking, I'll kill you too! Ling Zhao's roar scared Shui Wuxuan so much that her face turned deathly pale. Her mouth was wide open, but she didn't dare utter a word. Ling Zhao's expression was too frightening. It was incomparably ferocious. A single glance was enough to make one's soul feel fear. You won't let me kill you now? Where did you go just now? Even if you were willing to say a few words of fairness for us, today's matter wouldn't have reached such a point. Some people tried to plot against me, and you're actually protecting such trash. Now you think I'm cruel? They asked for it. While speaking, Ling Xiao leapt towards the next man. Although this man had reacted and tried to dodge, there was no way he could escape from Ling Xiao's pursuit. Another punch, and the man exploded. Ling Xiao could feel that the energy in his sea of cultivation had increased by 20% after absorbing the inner cores of the 5 people. Of course, this increase was a bit slow. The main reason was that most of the energy from the inner cores had been stored in his potential cells. Everyone stared blankly at the scene before them. Ling Xiao was dealing with a 5th-level Divine Core warrior. It was as easy as chopping vegetables. Those men couldn't fight back at all. For now, cultivation didn't mean much to Ling Xiao. After all, his body had reached the mid-7th Order Emperor realm. Even a 7th-level Divine Core warrior wouldn't be able to easily injure him. Continue! Ling Xiao still didn't use any martial skills. He still used ordinary attacks. But with each attack, he could kill a 5th-level Divine Core warrior. Finally, there were 10 men from the Moon Palace. Only Yu Yi was left. Right at this moment, 10 swords were surrounding Yu Yi. One thing was worth mentioning. Yu Ye's cultivation was similar to Xing Ye's. But her overall strength was slightly stronger than Xing Ye's. If not, Xing Ye would have been dead by now. At the same time, on the other side of the battlefield, the balance was finally broken. Long Jianshan was severely injured by Yiling Yin, and he was lying on the ground, unable to move. The reason why Yiling Yin didn't kill him was because she wanted to leave his life to Ling Xiao. After that, Yiling Yin went to help Yang Mo and Lion Master Fort. After these 3 men joined forces, the 5 men from the Snow Sun Palace were in a miserable state. In just a few moments, the only one left was Yuan Hai. Similarly, Yuan Hai was severely injured as well. He was lying on the ground, waiting for Ling Xiao's judgment. Xing Ye was obviously panicking right now. His strength was weaker than Dark Frost, and he was panicking right now. Dark Frost seized the opportunity and caused him to fall onto the ground, severely injured. He wanted to get up, but he was held back by the white bones that came out from the ground. His blood was being devoured by the white bones. Dark Frost only stopped when Xing Ye was half dead. Chapter 39-35. Do you want to help? Asked Shi Xiaobao. No need. You've seen how strong Brother Ling Xiao is. The Moon Demon Palace is much stronger than the Snow Sun Palace. He had single-handedly killed 9 of them. Even though Yu Yi is stronger than Xing Yi, it's not a big deal. Dark Frost shook her head and said, Let Brother Ling Xiao vent his anger, otherwise he'll die. At that moment, Yu Ye's face was extremely ugly. At the same time, he was desperately trying to block the attacks of the 10 swords. He could feel his soul trembling. He couldn't win. That was the only thought in his mind. Even though he didn't want to lose, Ling Xiao was giving him too much pressure. It was too terrifying. The other members of the 9 temples all looked solemn. This Ling Xiao was really terrifying. If anyone wanted to kill him, he would kill them. He wasn't afraid of anything. Ling Xiao, do you think that if you kill us, you'll be fine? You're so cruel and tyrannical. You'll definitely be killed by Shuiyu. Definitely. Yu Yi roared hysterically. Kill me? If you really do that, then Shuiyu is blind. I wholeheartedly serve the Eternal Night Palace. But you have the ambition of a wolf. You want to kill me. Now that you're scared of being killed, you want to push the blame onto me? You want to blame me for being cruel and merciless? How ridiculous. The king of Shuiyu shouldn't be as stupid as you. Ling Xiao had never thought of betraying Shuiyu. In fact, he was very grateful to Shuiyu. He also wanted to get some good things from the mysterious world to repay them. But he wasn't stupid. If Shuiyu wanted to kill him, he wouldn't sit still and wait for death. Do you think that the leaders of Shuiyu will believe you? Do they believe you or do they believe us, who have been cultivating in Shuiyu since childhood? Besides, we didn't kill any of you. But you and your companions killed 9 of my Mu Fiend Palace's men, and many others from the Xiuyang Palace. You even killed the Ice Palace's 3 eyes. Do you think you can wash your hands of your crimes? Shouted Yu Yi again. Clear my name? I'm not guilty in the first place, so why do I need to clear my name? Trash like you can't kill us, so you want to use this kind of pitiful method to gain sympathy? Do you really think that the leaders of Shuiyu are as stupid as you? I can't wait to see how they will punish me when I return to Shuiyu with the treasures in my possession. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see anything by then. Because you are going to die now. Ling Xiao seemed to be deliberately humiliating Yu Yi. She didn't attack, only letting the 10 swords leave scars on Yu Ye's body. It was as if he was being sliced into pieces. Ling Xiao, be lenient whenever possible. Your hands are already stained with too much blood. Do you still want to continue? Bing Xuanji finally spoke. He wanted to act as a mediator, making Yu Yi, Starry Yi, Long Jianshan, and Yuan Hai remember his kindness. Unfortunately, he had misjudged Ling Xiao. Would Ling Xiao give up because of his words? What a joke. Ling Xiao looked at Bing Xuanji and said coldly, Are you talking nonsense? When they attacked Lion Master Castle, where were you? Now you come out and pretend to be a leader. Ridiculous. Ling Xiao, enough is enough. We are all from the same sect, there is no need to kill all of us. The young leader of Red Water Palace couldn't help but try to persuade him. His attitude was better than Bing Xuanji's, but it was still bullshit. If these people really thought of him as a member of the same sect, they should have said something on his behalf. They shouldn't have hit him when he was down. Ling Xiao, don't go too far. If you do this, you will become the target of everyone in Shuiyu. Do you really want to be a traitor? Shouted someone else. Traitor? Ling Xiao looked at that person and said mockingly, It's just Shuiyang Palace and Moon Demon Palace. If you kill them, then so be it. You have no right to call me a traitor. I know that you people want Eternal Night Palace to be under your feet forever. Now that we have risen, you are afraid. You are afraid that we will settle our old scores with you. Impudent! You are talking nonsense. This guy is just a bastard, he shouldn't have been taken into Shuiyu. No matter what you say, it is useless bullshit. If I, Ling Xiao, want to kill someone, they will not live. 10 swords in one. Kill! Finally, Ling Xiao used a martial skill. The 10 swords that were attacking Yu Yu suddenly condensed into one. In an instant, it penetrated Yu Yu's body. Yu Yu's internal core was crushed and energy poured into Ling Xiao's body. Her body fell to the ground. In the end, he was still dead. Just a moment ago, when Bing Xuanji and the others spoke for him, he still had some hope. He thought that maybe he could still live. But at this moment, he finally understood that Ling Xiao wouldn't listen to anyone. When Ling Xiao decided to do something, he would definitely do it. And all of you, it's time for you to pay the price for what you have done. After killing Yu Yu, Ling Xiao didn't even bat an eye. He then turned to Xing Yi and the others. Long Jianshan, I spared your life on the way here. But not only did you not appreciate my kindness, you even sneak attacked me. Since that's the case, you can die now. Let's see how you are going to find trouble with me after you die. Ling Xiao waved his hand. A sword beam sliced Long Jianshan's body in half. His internal core was also shattered. Since he had decided to kill Long Jianshan, Ling Xiao wouldn't show any mercy or hesitation. Yuan Hai Xingyi! You instigated Long Jianshan to sneak attack me, and even tried to kill my friends. You deserve to die as well. Slash. A sword beam killed both men at the same time. The flames burned all the corpses. At the same time, Ling Xiao could feel that the energy in his cultivation ocean had increased to 60%. The energy contained in the inner cores of Xingyi and Yuyi, two 6th-level divine core warriors. The effect was indeed extraordinary. Witnessing this scene, all the others were dumbfounded. Their expressions were extremely ugly. The Xueyang Palace had been completely annihilated. The Moon Demon Palace had been completely annihilated. And this wasn't done by an outsider, they were killed by their own men. Ling Xiao, do you know what this means? Bing Xuanji said coldly. It means I've killed a few trash. Ling Xiao threw a disdainful glance at Bing Xuanji, then he said to his men. Let's go, I only feel disgusted here. A group of sanctimonious hypocrites gathered together, the stench of rot is really strong. Just like that, he left in a dignified manner. He brought his own men and left. No one dared to stop him. Not even Bing Xuanji. In this secret realm, unless there was a warrior at the late 7th Divine Core realm or above, no one could stop Jiangqin. They could only watch as Ling Xiao and his men left. Everyone from Shuiyu had ugly expressions on their faces. Although they knew Ling Xiao wasn't someone to be trifled with, they still didn't dare offend him. Because Ling Xiao's cultivation was weak, they didn't think too much about it. They didn't think this man could be that strong. But today's scene made them finally understand. Chapter 39-36. Everyone felt that Ling Xiao was too strong. He had single-handedly killed 10 geniuses of the Moon Demon Palace, and emerged unscathed. He was simply a monster. Shui Wushuang's body was trembling. Ling Zhao's strength had completely exceeded her imagination. For a moment, she wanted to call out to Ling Xiao, but he didn't even bother to look at her. Back then, she had looked down on Ling Xiao with contempt. She had thought of herself as a high and mighty princess. But now, it seemed that in his eyes she was the one who was the laughingstock. She had always been the one to put on a show for herself. Others didn't even bother to pay attention to her. Ling Xiao left, leaving the rest of the people of Shuiyu behind. He left with Lion Master Bao, Dark Frost, Yiling Yan, and Yang Mo. They couldn't tolerate each other anymore. Staying would only increase the friction between them. They strolled through the pocket world filled with the aura of desolation. Ling Xiao put the previous matter aside for the time being. The most important thing now was to find the treasure. There were definitely many treasures in the pocket world. The Sword Mountain grass was just an appetizer. It didn't count for much. This pocket world isn't inferior to Shuiyu's pocket world. Let's just walk around aimlessly. Who knows how long we'll have to walk? Why don't we split up into 2 groups? Dark Frost and I will be in a group. Brother Lion, Yiling Yan, Yang Mo, you 3 will be in a group. That way, the chances of finding the treasure will greatly increase. After walking for a while, Ling Xiao suddenly suggested. He realized that even with his Taiji eye, he couldn't see through the secrets of this pocket world. The 5 of them staying together would be safer, but it would also reduce their chances of finding the treasure. Lion Master Bao and Yiling Yan weren't weak. With Yang Mo, their battle prowess would only increase. Even if they ran into people from Shuiyu, they could still escape. I agree. The pocket world is a place of adventure. If we stay together, we'll miss out on a lot of good opportunities. He had heard from his master that this mystic realm would open once every 100 years. As long as one made it out of the secret realm alive, one would become the ruler of a large country. Or go to a powerful nation, or even the golden heavens, and become a hero. In the end, I still have to rely on myself to grasp the opportunity. I plan to go alone. Liu Xiaobao thought for a moment and said, "Me too. It's actually safer for me to travel alone. After all, I'm an assassin." Yi Lingyan added, "Big brother Ling Xiao, I'm thinking about something. Although this place can only be opened once every 100 years, it's still very rare. However, in the past tens of thousands of years, many people had probably come here. Apart from the Sword Mountain grass, which would grow again every once in a while, there were no other spirit herbs. Most of the treasures should have been taken away by others. The rest were very difficult to obtain. I also want to split up. I know that Big Brother Ling Xiao is worried about me. But don't worry, I won't get into trouble so easily. It's better to train alone." Dark Frost added, "I also want to try it myself." Yang Mo clenched his teeth. Although it would be very dangerous for him to act alone, he wanted to become stronger. He decided to give it a try. "Don't be hasty. My suggestion is not to separate now. When it's time to separate, I won't stop you. Follow me first. I have a feeling that direction is the most dangerous, but it's also the most likely place to obtain the secret treasure." Ling Xiao pointed in a direction. It was located in the northeast of the small world. The others didn't notice anything, but Ling Xiao's Tai Chi caught some dangerous aura. The most dangerous place would have the fewest people. Then the possibility of leaving behind the treasure was also the highest. "Okay, we'll listen to you." The other four nodded their heads in agreement. So the five of them continued forward. They followed the path that Ling Xiao said. Along the way, they encountered many warriors. But the further they went, the fewer they encountered. Because there were deaths. There were many traps and mechanisms here. Unless one had a Tai Chi like Ling Xiao or knew how to set traps, it was very difficult to pass safely. About half an hour later, there were no other figures around them. What was left was only a desolate environment, and those corpses that seemed to have been sealed for many years. These are probably warriors who have been here before. Like us, they wanted to find the secret treasure, but they lost their lives here. Yi Lingyan observed the corpses on the ground. When she stepped on them, the corpses shattered and turned into powder that scattered with the wind. If it's just a trap, it's unlikely to cause so many casualties. I suspect that this is caused by internal strife. What kind of treasure is this? So many people have died. Ling Xiao's Tai Chi carefully analyzed these corpses and came to a conclusion. What kind of treasure could it be? Lion Xiaobao frowned. "Let's go and take a look. There seems to be a building over there." Ling Xiao's Tai Chi could see things a mile away. It captured scenes that others couldn't. Everyone increased their speed and arrived a mile away. They discovered that the building here actually looked like a sect. Although the name of the sect was already blurry due to the passage of time, the overall structure could still be seen clearly. Now we can split up and search for our own opportunities. If you encounter any trouble, use this to contact me. Ling Xiao gave each of them a spirit talisman. It was called a sound transmission talisman, and could be used to communicate directly. All right. The few of them knew that the scale of this building was huge. It was more efficient to split up and search. After the other four left, Ling Xiao walked into the sect. It was similar to the sect structure seen in the future, but the scale was much larger. There were many rooms and buildings inside. This included the library, the treasure pavilion, and the like. The five of them carefully searched the place. Because everyone had the ability to search with their soul force, they didn't have to do it like ordinary people. So it was relatively easier. In the process of searching, Ling Xiao discovered some treasures hidden in secret compartments in the corners. But they were all pills, weapons, and the like. He didn't care about them at all. There weren't many things. The more conspicuous treasures should have all been swept clean. If not for his Tai Chi, he probably wouldn't have been able to find these things. The five of them gathered together an hour later. Lion Xiaobao, Yang Mo, and Yi Lingyan didn't find anything. Dark Frost found some things, but they weren't of high quality. It was obvious that the good things had been taken away. I just noticed that Bing Xuanji brought the people of Shuiyu over, Lion Xiaobao suddenly said. It seems that they didn't stop, but we've wasted some time, so it's not like we didn't get anything. I see that the weapons of the four of you are only divine-grade Emperor weapons. They can't keep up with your cultivation anymore. I happen to find a few suitable weapons, all of which are mortal-grade Heavenly King weapons. Each of you pick one. There are also good healing pills and recovery pills. You four can divide them. I don't need them. Chapter 39-37. Ling Xiao had gotten what he wanted. There were a few inner cores that had almost turned into fossils, and they belonged to mortal core warriors. After absorbing all of them, the energy in his cultivation base had increased to 80%. Let's move on! After everyone found their weapons and put away their pills, Ling Xiao called out to them and continued moving forward. Their speed wasn't fast. They were afraid that they might miss something good. Another ruin of a sect? I feel like it's much stronger than the previous one, Yi Lingyan said. That's right, if we were to rank it according to the strength of the Golden Sky region. The previous sect was at most a small city. But this sect is as big as a small kingdom. Ling Xiao nodded his head. Let's go in and have a look, we might find something. The 5 men once again split up and started searching around the sect. This time, because of their previous experience, their search speed was much faster. Soon, all 5 men gathered at the same place. Watch out! Suddenly, the guy who had turned into a skeleton on the ground suddenly stood up. He dashed towards Yang Mo. Ling Xiao shouted out loudly and threw a punch at the skeleton. Bang! A terrifying roar exploded on the spot. Ling Xiao was pushed back a few steps. But the skeleton was pushed back a few steps as well. So strong! This is the skeleton of an early 7th Divine Core warrior. Although he's dead, it seems like his inner core shattered and fused with the skeleton before he died. This skeleton is good stuff. Ling Xiao smiled excitedly and said, Now you guys continue moving forward, I need to kill this skeleton first. But it will take some time, we can't let Bing Xuanji and the others take advantage of us. The 4 men hesitated. Don't worry about me, don't you know how strong I am? If I die, you guys won't be able to do anything here, Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. All right, be careful, Brother Ling, we'll take our leave first. Lion Xiaobao finally nodded his head, then he turned around and left. Yi Lingyan left as well. Dark Frost watched for a while, and after making sure Ling Xiao was fine, she left as well. On the other hand, Yang Mo didn't leave. Why aren't you leaving? Ling Xiao asked curiously. I've thought about it. The 3 of them are all capable of holding their own. I'm the only one who's weaker. Although acting alone could train him, it could also be dangerous. He might as well stay by Big Brother Ling Zhao's side. Perhaps I can be of some help. Yang Mo smiled. It's up to you. Watch the door for me. I think someone will come here soon. Ling Xiao did not object. With Yang Mo's strength, it was indeed very dangerous for him to act alone. It might be better for him to stay here. Ling Xiao began to focus on fighting the skeleton. Although this skeleton was dead, its combat strength was still formidable. Especially that strange martial skill, which even Ling Xiao had never seen before. This was a good opportunity for him to hone his skills. The battle lasted for only about 10 minutes. Yang Mo suddenly became nervous. Because someone had indeed come. Moreover, it was an acquaintance. The Ice Royal Palace's Xiahou Mu and another unfamiliar face were probably from the Ice Royal Palace as well. Who would have thought? Prince Xuanji just wanted us to take a look out of curiosity, and we actually ran into you. Where's Ling Xiao and the others? You idiot, they didn't abandon you, did they? Xiahou Mu sneered at Yang Mo. Do you think everyone else is a heartless bastard like you? I advise you to get the hell out of here. Otherwise, you'll end up like those from the Moon Demon Palace and Xueyang Palace. Yang Mo said coldly. What a joke. Trash like you dares to threaten me? If not for that traitor Ling Xiao, I would have killed as many trash like you as I could find. How could Xiaomu fear Yang Mo? Of course I know you're not afraid of me. But what about him? Yang Mo sneered and stepped aside, allowing Xiaomu to see the people in the room. Ling Xiao! Xiaomu and the other cultivator from the Ice Royal Palace saw Ling Xiao and immediately took to the air. But halfway through, they suddenly stopped. That's not right. Ling Xiao is fighting. This is the best chance to kill Yang Mo. Both men landed back on the ground and stared at Yang Mo coldly. Buddy, I'll kill you first, then we'll kill Ling Xiao together. Let's see if that guy can still be so arrogant. Xiaomu sneered, then he thrust his palm toward Yang Mo. In his mind, Yang Mo was just a mid-5th rank Divine Core warrior. Xiaomu was a peak 6th rank Divine Core warrior. There was a huge gap between their cultivation levels. With just a single strike, Xiaomu was able to kill Yang Mo. Right now, Xiaomu was thinking about how he should deal with Ling Xiao after killing Yang Mo. Ling Xiao was the real problem. Actually, Ling Xiao had been watching everything that happened outside. He had been fighting with the skeleton for more than 10 minutes. He had recorded everything that happened with the skeleton in the depths of his soul through the heart of gold. The energy in his cultivation C had finally increased to 100%. He realized Yang Mo was in danger. He let out a cold snort, then he immediately transformed into the peerless heavenly rat. Like a blood-red lightning, he arrived in front of Xiaomu in an instant. Although Xiaomu was attacking Yang Mo, his eyes were fixed on Ling Xiao. He saw Ling Xiao pouncing toward him. Without hesitation, he crushed the talisman in his hand and disappeared. The poor warrior from the Ice Palace who was with him was killed by Ling Xiao with just a single punch. You're pretty fast at running away, Ling Xiao sneered. He would remember Xiaomu. How dare he sneak attack him while he was fighting? He had to kill him. But right now, he had another problem. More and more warriors were gathering here. Even the skeleton's secret had been discovered by many people. They were attacking it together. Although the skeleton was powerful, none of these martial artists were weak. They were besieged by them. Sooner or later, it would be defeated. In your dreams! I found it first, I won't let you touch it! Get lost! Ling Xiao leapt forward and pounced toward the skeleton. The skeleton only had the will to fight, it didn't have a brain. Jiangchen had already figured out its weakness. This time, he decided to end the fight with a single punch. The skeleton's energy had completely merged with his body. His cultivation had begun to break through. Yang Mo, protect me! Just hold on for 10 seconds. Ling Xiao sat down with his legs crossed and began to break through. Yang Mo responded, then he stood beside Jiangchen. This young man was a nice guy. Although he knew the enemy was strong, he didn't back down. He was determined to fight. He only needed 10 seconds, he believed he could do it. Kill him! The surrounding warriors didn't waste any more time. Since Ling Xiao had already said 10 seconds, they naturally had to kill Yang Mo within 10 seconds. If not, they wouldn't know what would happen. However, they had still somewhat underestimated Yang Mo. Although Yang Mo was only a mid-5th rank Divine Core warrior, the weapon in his hand was a mortal rank Heavenly King weapon. It had imperceptibly increased his combat strength, and made him much stronger than other warriors at the same cultivation level. Of course, more importantly, Yang Mo's tenacity was strong enough. Chapter 39-38. Young man, you're pretty tough, but too bad you're too weak. You want to protect others? Can you really do that? A sarcastic voice sounded out from the crowd. Our hidden sword nation's sword skill isn't something to be trifled with. Guys, don't hold back, let's kill this young man. The man who spoke was a very strong man from the hidden sword nation. Judging from his cultivation, he was a mid-6th Divine Core warrior. He was even stronger than Xing Yi and Yu Yi. The men next to him were all warriors from the Hidden Sword Nation as well. All warriors from the Hidden Sword Nation focused on the art of the sword, and each of them had a sharp blade in their hand. However, except for the mid-6th Divine Core warrior, The rest of them were only using divine-grade Emperor weapons. Therefore, when they saw the mortal-grade Emperor weapon in Yang Mo's hand, they coveted it. Their attacks became even more ferocious. Yang Mo couldn't defend himself at all. He spat out his inner core, trying to protect Ling Xiao with his own life. Big brother Ling Xiao, it's my honor to meet you in this life. I've always been mocked and looked down upon. I'm the only one who's willing to trust me. I can't disappoint you. Come, you bastards, let's die together. Yang Mo was still young, but he was willing to use his own life to protect Ling Xiao. Ha, die together? Do you have the ability to do that? Their attacks had arrived in front of Yang Mo, and they were about to collide with his inner core. However, right at this moment, a man suddenly appeared like a ghost. He stood in front of Yang Mo. All the attacks landed on the man's body. The men from the Hidden Sword Nation were shocked. The reason for that was because that person was actually completely unharmed by their attacks. He was emitting a devilish aura, and he was staring at them coldly. The light emitted from those eyes could even pierce through their souls. Run! The men from the Hidden Sword Nation realized the danger they were in. While screaming in fear, they turned around and tried to run. Run? When you wanted to kill me, didn't you think this would happen? Blood Shadow Sword Art, Blood Light Clone Slash. Die, all of you! In an instant, Ling Xiao turned into dozens of blood-red lights and shot out. In an instant, 7 or 8 Hidden Sword Nation martial artists were killed on the spot. Everyone's dantian was pierced through. These pitiful fellows didn't even have the chance to scream. These 8 men were all 4th and 5th level Divine Core warriors. The remaining 30 or so people were also pale. They didn't know whether to escape or stay. Ling Xiao released the martial spirit enchantment to trap those people to prevent them from escaping. Then, he turned to Yang Mo and said, "It's been hard on you. Hurry up and heal your injuries." Yes. Yang Mo finally heaved a sigh of relief after surviving the calamity. He didn't let down Ling Xiao's trust, which put him in a good mood. After consuming the healing pill, he immediately began to treat his injuries. Brat, you're too arrogant. We're from the Hidden Sword Nation. But killing 8 of us at once, do you still want to live? The mid-6th Divine Core warrior had a gloomy expression on his face. No matter what, he was a mid-mortal core warrior. This brat looked like he had just broken through to the early 4th Divine Core realm. How dare he not take him seriously? How dare he not take the Hidden Sword Nation seriously? How dare you threaten me? A mocking smile emerged on Ling Xiao's face. In an instant, he transformed into the Hell Undying Bird. A purplish-blue flame enveloped his body. The Blood Sovereign sword in his hand was spitting out the same flame as well. When it intertwined with the blood-red glow, it looked extremely beautiful. His cultivation had returned to the early 4th Divine Core realm. He could now use the Blood Sovereign sword. Besides, he could now use the Blood Shadow sword skill, Falling Plum Clear Shadow Steps, Blood Devil Seal, and Plum Blossom Acupuncture Palm. Especially the Blood Shadow sword skill, he could now unleash almost all of its power. His current strength had increased by too much. Looking at Ling Xiao's beast soul transformation, everyone from the Hidden Sword Nation suddenly felt suffocated. It was as if the air around them had become hot. There was also a sharp sword intent pressing down on them. It made it hard for them to breathe. Blood Shadow Kill! Ling Xiao suddenly thrust out his sword. The cold sword beam instantly shot into the crowd. The sword beam pierced through 2 men's dantians, killing them on the spot. Brothers, let's fight him! We can't run away from him anyway, there's no need to be afraid. We're all warriors from the Hidden Sword Nation. In terms of sword skills, we are no weaker than him. The leader of the group shouted out. Right now, he had to help his companions regroup. If he didn't, these men wouldn't have any fighting spirit left. Facing Ling Xiao would be a dead end for them. Yes! Over 30 men leapt into the sky at the same time. They shook their swords and unleashed over 30 sword beams towards Ling Xiao at the same time. The sword beams were extremely sharp and piercing. This was the strength possessed by a warrior from the Hidden Sword Nation. This sword skill is even more powerful than Yang Mo's. Looks like the Hidden Sword Nation does live up to its name. While fighting, Ling Xiao was carefully observing his opponent's martial skills. This was one of his habits. Falling plum blossom steps. Just as the 30-plus sword lights were about to pierce Ling Xiao's eyes lit up. Countless plum blossoms suddenly fell down from the sky. Ling Xiao's figure could appear anywhere within the range of the plum blossoms. All the attacks were hitting the spot where Ling Xiao was just now. What they hit was nothing but air. Ling Xiao was nowhere to be seen. Phantom kill! He thrust out the Blood Sovereign's sword, killing another 2 men. Ling Xiao was crazily absorbing the energy from these men's dantians. He was replenishing his potential and increasing the energy in his cultivation base. Multiple shadow kill! After the phantom kill, it was the even more powerful multiple shadow kill. Ling Xiao's figure turned into dozens of afterimages. He killed 5 men, and severely injured 6. Just like that, Ling Xiao slaughtered all the warriors from the Hidden Sword Nation like a ghost. In an instant, there were only 4 men left. These 4 people were the strongest of the Hidden Sword Kingdom's martial artists. 3 of them were perfect 5th-level Divine Core warriors, and 1 was a mid-6th-level Divine Core warrior. It wasn't easy to kill these 4 men. Not only were their sword skills excellent, their movement skills were excellent as well. It was difficult to kill them instantly, but for them, death was just a matter of time. Stop! Suddenly, the leader shouted out. Young hero, we admit that we were wrong just now. But this is the secret realm, it's normal for something like this to happen. You've killed so many of us, you should feel better now. We apologize. If apologizing is useful, then why do we still practice martial skills? A disdainful grin emerged on Ling Xiao's face. If he was weaker than this man, would he let him go? The answer was no. Absolutely impossible. Sir, don't go too far. Although the Hidden Sword Nation is weaker than the Snow Moon Nation, White Dragon Nation, and Fengho Nation, we are still a very powerful nation. As long as you let us go, we won't pursue what happened today. Chapter 39:39. Won't pursue the matter? Hee, what an arrogant tone! Ling Xiao sneered. I even dared to provoke the Dongxing Great Country. Do you really think I'm afraid of a mere hidden sword Great Country? While speaking, 10 sharp sword beams appeared around Ling Xiao's body. The sword beams were wrapped in purplish-blue flames. Cold, frightening, and murderous. Hearing Ling Xiao's words, the 4 men's expressions turned ugly. They really did not think that Ling Xiao was actually such an audacious person. He even dared to provoke the Dongxing Great Country? Although the Dongxing Great Country wasn't the strongest amongst the 4 great countries, it was still a great country. It was much more terrifying than any other great country. Even the Shuiyu Great Country, which was said to be almost as strong as a great country, couldn't be compared with the Dongxing Great Country. Who was this man? What was he trying to do? We're willing to give you everything we have, but please spare our lives. Finally, they started begging. Since they couldn't threaten Ling Xiao, they could only beg. Hee, is that really necessary? If I kill you, I can still get whatever I want. Ling Xiao sneered, then he unleashed all 10 swords at the same time. 10 streaks of sword light attacked the 4 people separately. At the same time, he unleashed the Bloodlight Clone Slash. 2 attacks combined. After a brief moment, the 4 men who were still alive and kicking had turned into 4 dead bodies. Ling Xiao burned their dead bodies with his flames and absorbed the energy from their inner cores. The energy in his cultivation ocean had also increased by 30%. But he felt like it was getting more and more difficult. After breaking through to the early 4th Divine Core realm, it was really difficult to increase his cultivation level by absorbing the energy from other people's inner cores. He would need to use some rare treasures to do so. Killing and robbing. Ling Xiao collected all these men's storage rings. Most of these men's storage rings were relatively clean. There were only some upper-rank soul stones, pills, and talismans. Only the storage ring of the leader actually had 2 sets of handwritten copies of martial skills. One was a sword skill, a 6th grade Emperor Realm sword skill. The other was a movement skill, also a 6th grade Emperor Realm movement skill. Ling Xiao already had the Falling Plum Clear Shadow Steps and the Divine Devil Seal, so he was not interested in these two things. Thus, he decided to give it to Yang Mo after copying it with his Sky Tyrant martial spirit. Yang Mo was willing to use his life to protect him. Naturally, he wouldn't be so stingy. Especially if it was something that he couldn't use. Of course, he had to let Yang Mo bask in the glory. With Yang Mo's cultivation base at the 5th level of the Divine Core Realm, he was able to cultivate a 6th Order Emperor martial skill. Between the Thief God's inner core and the ancient Dongxing Emperor's inner core, he had to think about it carefully. Both of you, please give us your treasures. Just as they were about to leave, a few more men suddenly appeared. These men's overall strength was similar to the Hidden Sword Nation's warriors. There were only 6 of them. But they were just as arrogant. The moment they opened their mouths, they demanded that Ling Xiao and Yang Mo hand over their treasures. What arrogance! Not to mention that we didn't get any treasures even if we did. Do you think you can take them away? Yang Mo sneered. When one's overall strength grew, so did his confidence. In the past, Yang Mo wouldn't have dared to speak like this. But now, he had the confidence to do so. Good lads, I think you're really tired of living. You're just 2 men, how dare you compete with us? You're courting death. One of the men suddenly attacked. He waved the long blade in his hand and slashed down at Yang Mo. Ling Xiao didn't join the fight. Yang Mo still needed to temper himself in real battles to break through his cultivation. Besides, his opponent was only a peak 5th Heavenly Core warrior. He was far weaker than Yang Mo. He was no match for them. Big brother Ling Xiao, can I kill them? Yang Mo asked. Of course, in the secret realm, it's either you die, or I live. Since they don't want to let us go, there's no need for us to show any mercy. These 6 men are all yours, just keep their inner cores for me, Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone. Understood. Right after Yang Mo finished speaking, he drew out his long sword. A cold beam pierced through the air. The warrior didn't even see where the sword beam came from, he could only feel the blinding light from the sword beam blinding him. Then, he felt something sweet in his throat, and he fell to the ground. Yang Mo swung his sword again and took out the man's inner core, then he gave it to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao refined the inner core with his flame and absorbed the energy within. It seemed that she had not been involved in the battle for long. He was full of energy and stamina. The little girl was none other than Dark Frost. As for the young woman, she was Yi Lingyan. Being surrounded by so many people, they couldn't escape easily, but they weren't willing to give up either. Since someone wanted them dead, they would kill to their heart's content. As for why they were surrounded, of course, there was a reason. There were many caves here, but most of them had been looted by people who had been here before. When Darkfrost arrived, she used her outstanding soul power to find a cave within a cave. After entering, she found a strange soul orb. This soul orb was born from heaven and earth. It had no grade, but in Darkfrost's hands, it was more powerful than a rare quality Heavenly King artifact. The soul orb was called the Ghost Realm Soul Orb. It could absorb the soul power of the dead to increase one's strength and attack. To Ming Xuang, it was simply something that was tailor-made for her. Other than the Ghost Realm Soul Orb, there were many treasures, martial skills, secret techniques, and so on. So she contacted Lion Master Bao and Yi Lingyan to come over. Lion Master Bao obtained a rare quality Heavenly King artifact saber and a suit of armor that was very suitable for him. It was also a rare quality Heavenly King artifact. Yi Lingyan also obtained a few treasures, and they were all of good quality. Darkfrost put the remaining treasures into her storage ring, preparing to give them to Ling Xiao and Yang Mo. Of course, treasures were just worldly possessions. No matter how strong they couldn't follow their owners forever. What was even more amazing was that all 3 of them had found inheritances that were suitable for them in this cave. After cultivating for a while, Darkfrost was the first one to break through. Her cultivation had reached the peak 6th divine core realm, and she had also mastered 2 more powerful secret techniques. However, right at this moment, someone noticed the existence of this cave. Therefore, some warriors started swarming in, trying to disturb their cultivation and steal their treasures. Lion Master Bao and Yiling Yan were still cultivating. Therefore, Dark Rose blocked the entrance by herself and fought for more than 10 minutes, killing dozens of enemies. Right at this moment, Yiling Yan had broken through as well. After absorbing the energy from the inheritance, her cultivation had reached the peak 6th divine core realm, and she had also obtained the inheritance of a 6th rank Emperor realm martial skill. Lion Master Bao was the only one left, and he was still cultivating. Yiling Yan came out to help, and the two fought for another half an hour. More and more enemies came to surround them. The number of dead bodies on the ground was increasing as well. Therefore, the current situation had come to an end. If both of them still had the same cultivation as before, they would have been dead by now. Luckily, not only had their cultivation improved tremendously, they had also learned new secret techniques and martial skills. Furthermore, they had obtained powerful magical treasures. You two beauties, stop struggling. Leave behind all your treasures, and I'll spare your lives. If you don't, not only will you die, you'll also be tortured mercilessly. Look carefully, there are a lot of men here. I'm sure you don't need us to remind you how men will react when they see beauties. A cold and mocking voice sounded out from the crowd. It was a threatening voice. That's right. Don't be fooled by the fact that you're killing each other. Those who died are all trash. Besides, we have a lot of people here. With just the two of you, you won't be able to kill all of them. In the end, you'll still be the unlucky ones. Therefore, for the sake of everyone, I advise you to surrender obediently. Someone else said. Dark Frost's expression was still as cold as ever. Big Sister Ling Yan, I don't want to surrender. What about you? She looked at Yiling Yan and said. Of course I won't surrender as well. How can we hand over the things we worked so hard to get to them? Besides, our friend is still inside. We can't let these people disturb his cultivation. Yiling Yan gritted her teeth and said. Although both of them were women, they were not inferior to men. For their friend, they could do things that were worthy of respect. Well said, Big Sister Ling Yan. Big Brother Ling Xiao didn't misjudge you. Dark Rose smiled and swallowed a soul-stabilizing pill. Her originally pale face quickly recovered. Although Ling Xiao wasn't here, he could still help them. Those medicinal pills were the best helpers. Chapter 39-41. Come, if you want to take away our things, then be prepared to die. We have decided to fight to the end. The last 8 words were said by the two at the same time, their voices resounding through the mountain of corpses. Humph, everyone heard it. These 2 women are completely reckless. There's no point in talking nonsense with them. It's better to continue attacking. Someone said loudly. Yes, these 2 killed so many of our people, and now they have become the target of public criticism of the Western Kingdom. If they don't die, it's hard to make the people angry. These people originally thought that the 2 women were easy to deal with. However, a lot of people had died. Feeling displeased, they naturally had to be overbearing. Of course, more importantly, they took a fancy to the treasures on Dark Frost and Yiling Yan's bodies. But although they shouted very fiercely, in fact, there were only a few who really dared to make a move. Before, they attacked like a swarm of bees, but dozens of people died. Now they are a little scared. The reason why they are still unwilling to leave is that they have seen the power of the Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl in Dark Frost's hands and the Blood Cloak on Yiling Yan's body. Each and every one of them is envious. How can they choose to leave so easily? Kill but don't dare to kill, leave but don't want to leave, you are really a group of good-for-nothings. Dark Frost ridiculed, but she is still quite satisfied with the current situation. The other side did not dare to continue to attack like a swarm of bees, which for the 2 of them, reduces the pressure a lot. As long as they rely on the pills given by Ling Xiao, it is not a problem to hold on. After a long stalemate, someone finally can't bear it anymore. If you don't dare to go, we will. The treasures are there. They can't keep wasting time here, right? One of them with a long sword has already pounced on Yi Lingyan. Compared to the Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl, he obviously likes Yi Lingyan's blood cloak more. Because he is an assassin. An assassin who is good at movement. The effect of the blood cloak, for an assassin, is simply a divine weapon. No one makes a move, no one makes a move. But once someone makes a move, there will be a lot of people rushing to imitate. After all, there are only so many treasures. If they are snatched away, it will be troublesome. Terrifying killing intent once again shrouds Dark Frost and Yi Lingyan. The two of them back to back, their eyes firm and unwavering. No matter how many enemies there are, they must guard the cave entrance. Kill! Yi Lingyan saw the man with the sword pouncing towards her. There were several other experts following behind him. With a cold shout, he made the first move. The bloody clothes on his body suddenly released a bloody net. This blood web was like a spider web, but it was much larger and was completely woven with blood. This place had long been piled up into a mountain of corpses. Naturally, there was no shortage of fresh blood. Although the people who were heading towards her had already sensed the danger, they still couldn't avoid it in time. He was stopped by the huge blood net and stuck to it. He felt the chi and blood in his body churning, and it was extremely uncomfortable. Die! Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Lingyan turned into a blur and stabbed the dagger in her hand into a person's throat. Then, he disappeared and reappeared. It was like a cold killer harvesting the lives of his enemies. In the blink of an eye, the 7 people who attacked him were all killed by her. They didn't even have the chance to fight back. The effect of the blood robe was really too strong. As for the blood web, it was only one of the effects. This was why so many people wanted to get their hands on the blood robe. At the same time, Dark Frost's battle began. The Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl revolved around her body. It released a terrifying soul aura. The people who were attacking Dark Frost all held their heads and screamed in pain. Ghost Realm Light! Then, Dark Frost's mind moved, and several black blurs shot out from the Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl. They directly pierced through the dantian of those people. Only a few corpses were left. Their faces were still full of fear. Dark Frost and Yi Lingyan looked at the crowd arrogantly. If you don't have the ability, don't make a move. Otherwise, you will regret it when the place is dyed with blood. So what if they were besieged? So what if it was dangerous? They were unyielding and did not fear death. No matter how many people came, they would kill them all. I think we should forget about it. Let's go. Finally, someone in the crowd chose to leave. This secret realm was so big, there must be other treasures. There was no need to fight to the death here. Anyway, there were so many people here. Even if they really killed Dark Frost and Yi Lingyan, would the treasures really fall into their hands? I'm leaving too! In an instant, hundreds of people chose to leave. But the majority of them still stayed. The temptation of these 2 treasures was just too great. Not only could the red cloak allow a warrior to conceal himself, it could also absorb blood to strengthen his attack, unleash a blood web, and increase his defense. Not to mention, it was a rare Heavenly King weapon. It would be a shame if they couldn't get it. As for the Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl, although it seemed like it would have a better effect in the hands of a soul warrior. But if an ordinary person had it, it could still be used as a handy treasure. The soul pressure it unleashed was just too frightening. Even a 6th-level Divine Core warrior would feel a splitting headache from the pressure. Besides, these 2 women didn't only have these 2 treasures, they also had many other treasures with them. Although they weren't as good as these 2 treasures, their effects were still pretty good. Even if it was dangerous, greed and desire could still make people forget about the danger. Everyone became crazy. I think there are still some good things in the cave behind these 2 women. Their cultivation wasn't so strong before this, but after entering the cave, they became so frightening. I think there are some treasures that are even more exciting than these treasures. Perhaps because the crowd's morale was low, someone started to fan the flames. That's right, there must be a reason why these 2 women are blocking the entrance. Why don't we work together and kill them, then we can fight for the treasures with our own abilities. Although they were attacking just now, they were all thinking about different things, and none of them attacked with all their strength. They all wanted to save their strength to fight for the treasures, and that was why so many of them were killed. One had to know that these people were not weak. But now, they realized these two women weren't as simple as they looked. It wasn't worth it for them to fight and die. So, they might as well kill these two women first. There were still around 200 men left. If all of them worked together to fight Darkfrost and Yilingyan, they would be a formidable force. We can't let them come to an agreement, we have to disrupt their rhythm. Yilingyan looked at Darkfrost and said, "That's right, looks like we have to take the initiative. Luckily, there are so many corpses here, it's enough for me. Sister Lingyan, fly up first." After saying that, Darkfrost flew up into the sky. After that, she controlled the Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl. A black mist covered the dozens of corpses on the ground. "Servants of the soul, awaken from the abyss of evil! Fight for me, live for me!" Darkfrost finished chanting the incantation. The dozens of corpses stood up one after another. Their bodies were emitting black mist. Their eyes were dull, and their movements were stiff. However, their speed wasn't slow. Under Darkfrost's control, they leapt into the crowd. He was pierced by the bone spikes of the white bone cage and bitten to death by the remaining Ghost Domain apostles. A moment later, black smoke rose from his body, and he turned into a devil's apostle. This girl's Ghost Domain Soul Pearl is too scary. Although the besieging warriors all knew how terrifying the Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl was, it was precisely because of this terror that made them even more greedy. If he could get his hands on such a good item, even if he couldn't unleash the girl's power, he would still be able to use it. He would definitely be able to achieve other effects. If he really couldn't, he could exchange it with a soul warrior for something good that he could use. Kill! Several more figures pounced on Darkfrost. All kinds of weapons bombarded the white bone cage. Crack! Crack! The white bone cage shattered bit by bit, and it was about to be destroyed. Suddenly, the Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl released a terrifying soul power. The color of the white bone cage turned black, and the broken parts were reconnected. Not only that. Huge black monsters appeared in the four directions of the white bone cage. They each held a weapon in their hands, and they fiercely slashed at those warriors who pounced on them. "Oh no! Oh no! Run!" Those warriors sensed that something was wrong and wanted to dodge, but the Ghost Domain apostles grabbed their legs and feet. It was only a moment of delay, and they were killed by the black bone monsters. "Continue, don't be afraid!" The stronger the power of the Ghost Realm's Soul Pearl, the crazier these people became. Killing those people didn't make them feel afraid. Instead, it attracted more attacks. Darkfrost's face turned pale. She felt a splitting headache. It consumed a lot of soul power to maintain this kind of secret method. Every time the enemy attacked, she was in great pain. Boom! Boom! Clang! Crack! All kinds of weapons, fists, and feet smashed on the white bone cage like raindrops. Although the Ghost Domain apostles kept coming forward to stop them, they could only hold on for a moment. After all, the Ghost Domain apostles couldn't use martial arts or secret methods, and could only fight with their bodies. Their combat power was relatively weak. Ming Xuan was about to be in trouble. A streak of bloodlight flew over. Darkfrost knew that Yilingyan had arrived. So she activated her soul power and released the white bone cage. Countless white bones were released, trapping all the warriors who were attacking her. After Yilingyan arrived, she only needed to kill them. She killed all the warriors who besieged Darkfrost one by one. Usually, it would take hundreds of moves to finish them off in a one-on-one fight. But now, she only needed one move to finish them off. This was cooperation in battle. The two girls became more and more skilled in the battle, which was the key to them being able to hold on until now. The crowd retreated once again. After a wave of fierce attacks, there were more than a dozen corpses left, and those corpses turned into Ghost Domain apostles again, standing around Darkfrost and Yilingyan. Excluding those who were destroyed, there were more than 30 left. Damn it, these two women are too scary when they work together. Coupled with the magic treasures in their hands and their respective martial arts and secret techniques, it's simply watertight. People gnashed their teeth hatefully. The more they looked, the more jealous they became. Not only their treasures, but also their martial arts. It was as if they were born to cooperate with their treasures. At that moment, another group of people rushed over. It's those two women. Ling Xiao is nowhere to be seen. It seems that they separated. Among the group of people, there were cultivators from Shuiyu. Prince Xuanji, do you want to attack? These two women seem to be very lucky to have obtained something good. Instead of benefiting others, why don't we take it for ourselves? Xiahou Mu asked. Xiahou Mu had tried to sneak attack Ling Xiao before, but in the end, he had fled in fear, leaving his companions to die. This meant that two people from the Ice Imperial Palace had died at Ling Xiao's hands. His hatred for Ling Xiao was not just any ordinary hatred. The battle stopped temporarily, so they weren't in a hurry. Get out of the way! Bing Xuanji didn't reply to Xiahou Mu. He just humphed coldly, and his chi filled the air. In an instant, the cultivators surrounding Darkfrost and Yiling Yan were frightened, and they all retreated. The cultivators of Shuiyu had lost the Moon Demon Palace and the Snow Sun Palace, but they still had a lot of people. There were nearly 100 people, and they were all in the same group. Although there were nearly 300 people here, they all belonged to different groups. They didn't dare provoke them. Chapter 39-43. Seeing the crowd move aside, Bing Xuanji smiled and walked toward Ming Xuang and Yiling Yan. You two did well. Now, give me the treasures. We're all united. I don't think these people will dare attack you again. Yiling Yan and Darkfrost glanced at each other, and saw the disdain in each other's eyes. What a joke! They already knew what kind of person Bing Xianji was. If they gave the treasures to Bing Xianji, they would die quickly. The reason why he hadn't died yet was because of the effects of these two treasures. Handing them over would be courting death. Bing Xianji, you're shameless. Didn't you say we were traitors of Shuiyu? Now you want us to give you the treasures we worked so hard to get. You're really shameless. Darkfrost smiled coldly. How insolent! Prince Xianji is magnanimous. You've done so much for Shuiyu. You've done great deeds for Shuiyu, so he'll be lenient with you. If you hand over the treasures, they don't belong to us, they belong to the entire Shuiyu. Don't slander me. How magnanimous of a vile person! Xiahou Mu shouted furiously. I'm just a little girl. So what if I'm magnanimous? It's better than giving away the treasures and getting killed. If you want the treasures, take them with your own strength. Don't play such ridiculous tricks. Do you think we're all idiots? Darkfrost mocked him. Miss, you're wrong. How about this? You should have a lot of treasures. I don't want the ghost pearl. You just need to hand over the Shuiyu. We'll use it. That way, we'll be united and we won't be afraid of others. That's fine, right? Anyway, after leaving the mysterious world, what's yours will still be yours. Why be so stubborn? Bing Xianji said with a smile. Hee, what a dignified reason. Since you said so, it's simple. We're both from Shuiyu. The treasures can be used by you or by us. It's the same. Moreover, the two of us have mastered the ability to use these two magic treasures. It would be more convenient to use, so there was no need to lend it to others. If you want to show your sincerity, then defeat these people who are besieging us. Darkfrost said indifferently. This little girl had been by Ling Xiao's side for a long time, so she had also learned how to speak eloquently. There was no way Bing Xuanji could fool her. You're wrong. Xiahou Mu shook his head and said. You are too weak. You will only waste the power of the artifact. It was better to give the blood-stained robe to Prince Xuanji, who would be able to unleash its full potential. Moreover, if we want to help, it can't be that we don't get any benefits, right? Do you really want to die here as traitors? There was a strong threat in Xiahou Mu's words. Although Bing Xuanji didn't respond to Xiaomu's question, it was obvious that he didn't oppose Xiaomu's words. That was his intention as well. If Dark Frost and Yiling Yan were not willing to hand over their magical treasures, then, in that case, they had no choice but to act. At the end of the day, you just want the magical treasures, so why are you still talking so much nonsense? Who are the traitors of Shuiyu? Naturally, the higher-ups of Shuiyu will have the final say. Not you people with ulterior motives, Darkfrost said disdainfully. Good, you finally spoke your mind. It seems that Starry Night and the others were right. You people want to betray Shuiyu. You don't care about the interests of Shuiyu at all. Xiaomu sneered. What a joke. Who do you think you are? You think you can represent Shuiyu? Darkfrost said disdainfully. If he can't, then what about us? Yes, that's what we all mean. You followed that traitor Ling Xiao and killed your fellow disciples. Today, I gave you 2 opportunities and you didn't know how to cherish them. Since that's the case, it's better to clean up the sect today and kill all of you traitors. Otherwise, there will be trouble in the future. Bing Xuanji said coldly. Obviously, he couldn't hold back his temper anymore. Whether it was the blood cloak or the ghost domain soul pearl, he was very envious. Finally, you're showing your foxtail? If you want the treasure, just say it. Why do you have to make yourself so uncomfortable? You're obviously a black-hearted person, but you want to tell others that you're a white lotus. Darkfrost sneered and said, Anyway, we already have enough enemies. If you want to steal it, then do it. At worst, we'll have to kill a few more people. That's right, Yiling Yan finally said. She didn't say much, but her attitude was very clear. Humph, you 2 traitors, you really know how to find excuses. I, Bing Xuanji, am the chief disciple of the Ice Imperial Palace. I'm also the next king of Shuiyu. If I ask you to hand over the treasure, you must hand over the treasure. If you don't hand it over, you're a traitor. Since you're a traitor, you can be killed. Bing Xuanji snorted coldly. He didn't even bother to hide his greed anymore, completely exposing his greedy side. He was very aggressive. Actually, he was just a disciple of the Ice Imperial Palace. He was just a little stronger. In reality, he didn't have any power. He claimed that he was the future king of Shuiyu and that if they didn't obey him, they would betray Shuiyu. That was a bit too arrogant. When the surrounding people heard Bing Xuanji, they also felt that he was shameless and funny. But they didn't dare say anything. Bing Xuanji was extremely strong and he was also a disciple of Shuiyu. They couldn't afford to offend him. My teacher once said that there are shameless people in the secular world. They always claim that they are the messengers of justice. In reality, they're all thieves and prostitutes. I didn't believe it at first, but now I do. A voice came from the cave. Shi Xiaobao came out of the cave and looked at Bing Xuanji coldly. You're the most shameless person I've ever seen since I stepped into the secular world. You keep saying that you're doing this for the benefit of Shuiyu. If you're really that great, then what you should do now is to help us out. You shouldn't be eyeing these treasures. Shi Xiaobao's armor was dazzling. It was as if a lion was draped over his body. He changed his weapon again. It was a saber with a lion pattern on the hilt. It was a heavy and gigantic saber. It weighed at least 5,000 jin. When he swung it, it looked like a tiger. Of course, the most important thing was that it was also a precious heavenly emperor weapon. It was definitely as powerful as Shui. The day I joined the Eternal Night Palace, the day I became a disciple of the Eternal Night Palace. I will never betray Shuiyu. But people like you who only think about themselves don't deserve to be disciples of Shuiyu. Even if I kill you, I'm sure that General Lang will forgive me. Shi Xiaobao continued. Then, he looked at Shui Wushuang and said, Shui Wushuang, you're the representative of the Eternal Night Palace. You're also the daughter of the king of Shui Mantian. Today, you should say something fair, right? Our Eternal Night Palace is being bullied, you can't be indifferent, right? That was the last chance Shi Xiaobao gave Shui Wushuang. Chapter 39-44. Nonsense, Bing Xianji's words are my father's words. Of course I listened to him. You people have already been expelled from the Eternal Night Palace. You don't deserve to be disciples of the Eternal Night Palace, said Xue Wushuang without hesitation. We don't deserve to be disciples of the Eternal Night Palace? Lion Xiaobao smiled and said, What a stupid and conceited woman. Who do you think you are? The leader of the Eternal Night Palace? Unfortunately, you don't deserve to be disciples of the Eternal Night Palace. I said you were the representative of the Eternal Night Palace because I wanted to give you face. First of all, you're not strong enough, and second of all, you look down on the Eternal Night Palace. The real representative of the Eternal Night Palace is Ling Xiao. As the disciple of the Eternal Night Palace, he is the most qualified person to be the leader of the Eternal Night Palace and even the king of Shuiyu. You and Bing Xianji are just foils to him. Kill them! Bing Xianji didn't want to talk nonsense anymore. He was completely infuriated by Lion Xiaobao and the others. He waved his hand and all the cultivators of Shuiyu threw themselves at Lion Xiaobao, Dark Frost, and Yiling Yin. You two hurry up and recover. I will block them for a while, whispered Lion Xiaobao. Then, he took a step forward. He slashed with his sword. At that moment, it seemed like the space was about to be torn apart. A terrifying and gigantic sword chi appeared in the air. Dodge! They realized how terrifying that sword chi was. The cultivators of Shuiyu who were rushing towards Lion Xiaobao and the others all tried to dodge. However, there were still many people who couldn't dodge. That sword chi had killed 10 people. The saber chi left a terrifying gully on the ground, causing people to tremble. How terrifying! The people who were rushing towards the three of them all stopped. Even the people who had surrounded Ming Xuang and Yiling Yan earlier were afraid that they wouldn't be able to escape in time. Lion Xiaobao's attack was too terrifying. Humph! Ice Goddess, punish these ignorant mortals! At that moment, Bing Xianji attacked. Behind him, a beautiful face appeared. It was his spirit, the Ice Goddess. A violent cold wind blew in an instant. The entire space became bone-chillingly cold. A thick ice wall separated them from the outside world. The people who had surrounded Ming Xuang and Yiling Yan had actually been separated from each other. They tried to attack the ice wall, but to no avail. The ice wall did not budge. Furthermore, every time he attacked, it would cause his power to freeze. That feeling was extremely uncomfortable. Attack! The goddess of ice will grant you power! Bing Xuanji gently waved his hand. He ordered all the cultivators of Shuiyu. On the bodies of those martial artists, they were all wearing crystal-like armor that became incomparably hard. On the other hand, Dark Frost, Yiling Yan, and Liu Xiaobao didn't look too happy. In this cold environment, they were unable to display their true strength. You have no idea how terrifying I am! Bing Xuanji's voice was cold and murderous. He had single-handedly boosted their morale. The cultivators of Shuiyu suddenly looked ferocious. They began to surround Leo Master, Dark Frost, and Yiling Yan. Even though all three of them had their own treasures. Even though all three of them had broken through to the perfect Sixth Divine Core Realm, they were still able to break through to the perfect Sixth Divine Core Realm. However, none of them were as strong as Bing Xuanji. Even if they joined hands, they still couldn't compete with Bing Xuanji. Bing Xuanji was too terrifying. No wonder he was the #1 genius of Shuiyu and the chief disciple of the Ice Imperial Palace. In a flash, all the apostles of the demon region were frozen. The cultivators of Shuiyu tore them apart. Bing Xuanji smiled coldly. He waved his hand and opened a door in the ice wall. Those people outside, do you want to steal their treasures? I will give you a chance, let's see if you dare take it or not. He was really evil. He wanted Leo Master, Dark Frost, and Yiling Yan to be besieged and killed. He didn't even need to stain his hands with blood. That way, even if the strong cultivators of the Eternal Night Palace blamed him, it wouldn't have anything to do with him. They wouldn't be able to punish him. In the end, over 100 people came through the door. even though there were still 200 people who chose to watch. Inside the ice wall, 200 people were besieging the three of them, especially Bing Xuanji. Darkfrost and the other two were in a difficult situation. Leo Master's blade chi was terrifying. But Bing Xuanji's ice chi was even more terrifying. Every time he wanted to kill a cultivator of Shuiyu, Bing Xuanji would deliberately stop him. But the slaughter didn't stop. Bing Xuanji was terrifying. But Darkfrost, Yiling Yan, and Leo Master weren't weak either. Leo Master looked like a golden god of war. He was holding his Zanmadeo and slaughtering his enemies as if they were vegetables. Darkfrost's bone cage kept emerging from the ground. She killed one enemy after another. Yiling Yan's clothes were covered in blood. Horrible shrieks rose and fell one after another. But the three of them were killing the greedy cultivators of Shuiyu. As for the cultivators of Shuiyu who were wearing ice armor, apart from the 10 people Leo Master had just killed, there were only a few left. So far, he had only killed 2 of them. It was too difficult. Bing Xuanji's spirit was too terrifying. The battle didn't stop. Leo Master, Darkfrost, and Yiling Yan were all injured. There were many scars on each of their bodies. After all, they were all alone. Even though they had already killed more than 50 people. Blood was splashing everywhere inside the ice walls. But there was a limit to human strength. They still couldn't reach Ling Zhao's level. "Let's see how long you can last!" Bing Xuanji was floating in the air and looking down at the 3 people coldly. He was smiling coldly. If he wanted a treasure, he had to get it. If they didn't give it to him, they would die. Suddenly, Ming Xuang froze for a moment before a look of pleasant surprise appeared on her face. "He's here!" "He?" Bing Xuanji was surprised and then said disdainfully, "You're talking about Ling Xiao, right? Unfortunately, even if Ling Xiao comes today, he won't be able to save you. If I want you to die, you'll all die. Including Ling Xiao. Do you think you're the only ones who have obtained treasures? Of course I have them too." Before, Bing Xuanji hadn't attacked Ling Xiao because he didn't have absolute confidence. But it was different now. He was happy that Ling Xiao was here. "What you said only shows your ignorance. You don't know how terrifying Brother Ling Xiao is." Darkfrost looked at Bing Xuanji mockingly. She had seen people who were as proud as Bing Xuanji. They thought they were the masters of fate. They thought they could easily defeat Ling Xiao. But in reality, none of those prideful people could escape Ling Zhao's wrath. Swoosh! In the distance, a blood-red lightning bolt was flying toward them. Not only was the lightning fast, but it was also terrifying. Wherever it passed, nothing was left. The ground was scorched black. Boom! A terrifying lightning bolt fell from the sky. Blood-red thunder god! Ling Xiao didn't show any mercy. The terrifying blood-red thunder god blasted into the crowd.